Jake Bakoven.
I love Billy Steve.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Hold up.
It is On the Block with Strick and Bach here on 93.7 The Ticket on a Wednesday. W-I-N-S, Wednesday. That's from Tom used to do that. I don't know. You probably picked that up from somebody else, but I like it anyways. Big Sky is sitting in with me. Jake Bachman here for the first hour. We call it The Ticket Water Cooler. And then, of course, Strickland, the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet, will join us from 4 to 6. And also Bruce Chubbuck set to join us at 5:25 so we can try to see what he's been up to. And, of course, break down what he thinks about Nebraska basketball, as it is certainly a dire situation for Nebraska to get off the schneid, get a win in the Big Ten. Doesn't look like they've given up or anything like that. No giving up on the team, but certainly needs to get across that finish line and get a victory. Big Sky, how you feeling today?
I feel well.
Yeah, not too bad. Nothing much going on today.
No, I had a lot going on yesterday. Had a lot to do. I was getting a lot of things in line, but this morning I kind of was able to relax, make a nice omelet for myself and then break it when I folded it. So
well, there you go. That's not a bad day. So you get some chance to cook for yourself. Are you a big cook, or do you often eat out fast food sort of thing in the mornings?
It depends on how busy I am. If I'm not busy, if I'm just having a normal day, I like to cook for myself. I think I'm fairly proficient in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I haven't broken an omelet in a while folding it, so that was rare today. Maybe it's a bad omen, honestly.
It could be. I heard this owl the other day apparently I haven't heard an owl too much around my house, and I heard it like hooting like 3 times, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. I was like, that's just what it started to make me think, like, why is he doing that? So I was looking it up, trying to see what he was trying to get to, and then I crossed all this. Apparently there's a lot of bad luck omens going on with owls. And so I was trying to look at like, why is he doing that? There's like, oh, it's bad luck. It's like, no, why is he doing it? Not what does it mean? But he might have been claiming his territory or stuff like that. I was kind of looking into. So apparently it was bad luck. And then over the weekend I got in a car crash. So, so if you hear an owl hooting, get bubble wrap, stay inside. Don't
off the roads.
Stay away from those owls. Yeah. But everything's okay. I was fine after the crash.
Have you ever seen a wild owl before?
I don't know. I've certainly seen them like in zoo settings, right? I've seen an owl. Yeah. I know. I just don't know if I've seen a wild owl.
I walked out of my dorm room my sophomore year. It was one of the apartment ones, so I had like a sliding glass door into a courtyard. And I walked out, and there was just an owl sitting on the tree. And I said, I think that's the first time I've ever seen an owl. This is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. I did not get into a car accident, but
yeah. Well, he didn't hoot 3 times. If he hoots 3 times, that's bad.
How many times did your owl hoot?
3 times, but he did it repetitively. So I mean, he could have.
He was really putting the bad luck on you.
Yeah, it's either claiming his territory or just he wanted to stop by and give me a bad look. It's weird though, because I live in the same place. I've lived there for 5 years. I've never heard an owl. I have like a woodpecker that comes around every year. There's of course foxes that go around as everywhere in Lincoln. It seems like now raccoons. I've seen a lot of stuff. Just not an owl yet.
Maybe he's a youthful owl. He's just moved out and he's claiming his territory.
He might be. He can stay away from me, though. I feel like he gave me bad luck. Brian says you guys got to get outside. There are owls all over. There might be, too. I feel like maybe I have seen an owl, just not like a big one.
I think it also helps if you live in a more wooded area, maybe not so urban. I lived like right in the middle of town as a child, so even though it was only a small town, there was not really any woods nearby.
Yeah, the owls they're not city owls necessarily. Kind of wait, where was I going? I actually forgot. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Nebraska, are they a blue blood? That's kind of going up across Twitter. I don't know. Have you seen that today? Twitter is going back to college football's over. We better get to the offseason discussion of who's a blue blood and who's not. And it just kind of reminded me of you, because we were talking about the other day how, you didn't necessarily live through the Bill Callahan era, which means you didn't live through any of the good blue blood type of area either, when Nebraska was kind of dominant. Even from that outside perspective, would you consider Nebraska a blue blood based on history?
Oh, if you're only taking my life, absolutely not, because the biggest bowl win we have is the Capital One Bowl.
Right.
But if you're taking history, I think you got to consider Nebraska current blue blood, but definitely trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those weird discussions. Like, can blue blood status be taken away? I think eventually it can. I think it could take quite some time to do that. But you kind of think of Minnesota as a team that had a lot of titles in like the 30s and 40s. That doesn't mean anything anymore. They're not a blue blood school.
Or a Yale, Harvard, or Princeton, one of those the first Ivies when they didn't have the forward pass.
I'd say it's very important to be currently playing at the highest level, I think.
Hey, they're D1. They're still D1. Well. They're still D1.
I said at the highest level. FBS. Power 5. SEC. You know my stance. No, just Power 5 in general. But yeah, I don't think it's something that can necessarily be taken away too quickly. But I mean, if you see Nebraska, which the claims was always there, is kind of top all-time wins is maybe one of Nebraska's best arguments there, and the less wins they have over the years, everybody else is kind of making space in that category. And you wonder, like, if Nebraska eventually falls to like 15th in the all-time wins category or something like that, maybe they could get the blue blood status taken away. And it's not like a blue check mark on Twitter. It's kind of up for everybody to decide. But I think college football fans, at least that agree with me, which is all I care about, have come to the conclusion that there's 8 blue bloods in Alabama, Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Texas, USC, and Nebraska. And then from there on, you kind of have teams that have popped up. Certainly, like Miami would have an argument for winning all those titles in the 80s, and of course in 2001. But you can't really call them a blue blood if they pop up in the 80s. Kind of the same thing with Florida State when they were right there. I mean, so it's kind of weird, and it's a weird distinction too, because when you think of college football, I still think of Florida State and Miami. But again, it just kind of goes with what generation you're a part of, because I mean, you might be more prone to think of Oregon before you think of Miami. Miami's been in a similar downfall as Nebraska. That is, if you didn't kind of do your homework. I know you're a college football guy, but like modern kids, you wonder if they would think of Nebraska as a blue blood, if that would surprise them to hear that, if they don't do too much of their homework.
Well, I know Miami probably isn't the first team you think of when you're a child in my generation, but my dad was a late comer to college football, and so he probably got his education the same time you did, and so he raised me kind of with those ideas and those perceptions of the game. So Miami was always just randomly a team my dad would talk about, and they were terrible when I was learning what college football was, and I didn't understand it. I'd like a Miami. I won a Miami Hurricanes football out of a claw machine at Walmart one time.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, "Well, we should just stab it." And I was like, "Well, why?" I had no idea that the national championship game had happened, and they just pounded the Huskers into the dirt.
That's one of them. 1994 went better for Nebraska.
Yes, but I had no idea. I was like, this team, they play in the ACC. They stink, and it's just a cool football. It's got a duck on it because for whatever reason they didn't choose the U, they chose the duck.
Yeah, the ibis.
Yeah, so I was just like, all right, like Miami is not good, and from there on, that just always had a weird thing about Miami. So yeah, I understand that, but certainly like a non-football school is a team that's relevant now in a UNC. So like for whatever reason, UNC is hyper relevant in the ACC right now with a guy like Sam Howell, Mac Brown going back there, and so that's been one of the things that's been weird growing up, is seeing just different powers rise that were completely irrelevant when my dad would have been learning college football.
Yeah, and it goes up and down in waves, and teams will have success there. I mean, there was Mac Brown's first run when North Carolina was pretty good, just for that example. But that's kind of the point of the blue blood, is these teams are supposed to stick around, and all those teams, for what it's worth, have had their ups and downs and down periods. But of course, Nebraska having quite a long one right now. The other thing is it's obviously location. That's always been something that has kind of held Nebraska back, kind of holds Michigan, Notre Dame back as well in that discussion. Even though they've been blue bloods, it's been a while since you can look at those teams and winning their titles. Of course, Michigan and Nebraska the same year in 1997. Notre Dame's played in the playoffs. They've been into a national championship game in 2012, so they didn't win them, but that's a little bit closer in that category. But I don't know. I think that they're for a long time. It takes a long time to get knocked out of a blue blood status, but I think that it might eventually happen if you don't have at least one heavy statistic to lean on. And all-time wins is definitely an easy one to go there. There's other teams that can make an argument. Tennessee is probably kind of right in line with that. Nebraska, as almost, I would say. A lot of people have them kind of ninth if you're going to do 9 programs, or you can do Penn State. I personally, I don't know what to do with Penn State. That whole thing is very strange. So I just kind of keep them out of the discussion. Tennessee has had it like Miami, Tennessee, Nebraska. They've all kind of been the same, where you see like we said, programs go up and down. They've all been stuck on down and looking for the next coach to try to find some way out of it. And it just hasn't happened for any of those programs. But it just kind of goes back to and it's kind of sad that you didn't live through this, because when people say like college football is better when Nebraska is good, you believe them, but you haven't seen it, so you don't know what kind of.
Well, I know it's I know it's true, because I can only imagine what it would be like if my team was successful.
Well, you're a Packers fan, so you kind of.
I'm talking about college football.
I know. I'm just saying you've experienced success, so you can kind of compare it.
Saturdays are pain, Sundays are.
Like I said, it hurt me deep inside as a Cardinals fan. I was introducing the Cardinals playoffs to my wife the other night, and she said, "Man, I'd rather watch the Huskers. At least they keep it close. It's entertaining." Like, yeah, that happens sometimes. But at least the Cardinals made the playoffs, so I think that doesn't happen very often either. So that's good, at least in that category. Some other news today: Nesta Jade Silvera, as we've been talking about Miami, the Miami transfer. Defensive tackle, big-time prospect for Nebraska, actually committed to Arizona State, so he's heading to Tempe. Nebraska coming up short there. It was reported over the weekend, I believe, that they were going after him, and it happens. Obviously, you're not going to win every one of these recruiting battles, but you think Nebraska will still look for help up front in the portal? It seems like they've checked a lot of those, check those boxes off this offseason. The specialists, some help in the secondary, which obviously is replacing a lot of guys. And then, the offensive line, you've got a few guys, quarterback position, well discussed, running back positions there, wide receivers. So they've kind of hit everything, just not much along the defensive front yet, which might be needing some help there. I mean, I think you have your starters, and you even probably feel good about the backups, but maybe it's just kind of a plan B, plan C type of thing. Especially if you get a guy like Silvera that had played a significant amount of times, but obviously he's now out of the fold. But I still think they're going to probably get a few guys, maybe just one up front, to kind of solidify that front line.
Well, as Nick Sainert likes to point out, they are over their scholarship limit, and so there needs to be departures. And there will be departures. So I don't know if they're just going to go out and grab a guy just to grab a guy and fill depth. They want to make sure that this is somebody who can come in and can contribute right away. So I don't know if there's any of those sorts of players in the portal right now that are gettable for Nebraska. And so I don't know if we're just going to see them go out and start throwing around portal offers just to fill depth where they need it. They don't really have the luxury to do that right now. You would hope that one of the 19 linebackers that they have on scholarship could step up and fill a front 7 role, be it a edge rusher or a outside linebacker coverage role. But we will see as we get closer to the spring game, spring practices, how they fill out their roster and kind of shed weight where they need to.
Yeah, and obviously losing Ben Stille, Damian Daniels, a couple other guys on that front line, it's gonna be something that they're gonna have to replace. I think they have. Again, I would not feel bad about rolling out Jordan Riley and Ty Robinson and Casey Rogers. I think you got a pretty solid start there, but some of those other guys, Nash Hutmacher. I mean, some of these guys are coming along too young to say that they're not there yet, or this would be their time to step up, and hopefully you see that this year. So I don't think it's a dire situation. It would just help to have a little bit of depth there for Nebraska's front line. Some other news to get to: Husker women's game against Rutgers for tomorrow evening is postponed due to some COVID issues in the Husker women's basketball program. Kind of upsetting to see that. Obviously, they're looking to bounce back and get some wins here. But, of course, that's modern modern day sports, and that's going to happen. So we'll see if they reschedule that. Also wanted to mention Lamar Jackson, former Husker, signed with the Bears on a reserve futures contract. Kind of surprising to see it. I didn't know there's going to be too much roster movement for the NFL right now for a team to get, but apparently, I don't know, his agent's doing well, or maybe there's some moves that get overlooked at this time of the year. But congratulations to Lamar Jackson moving on to another team and getting another chance. Often it is difficult to kind of get that second look from a different team. Obviously, he was a starter for the Jets last year. I don't think he played this year because he was just on the practice squad for the Jets, but the Bears will at least give him a look. So congratulations to Lamar Jackson. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, Mel Kiper Jr.'s big board is out. We'll talk about some of the NFL teams that need a quarterback because there's none in Mel Kiper Jr.'s top 10. We know it's not a quarterback heavy year, but some of these teams might still reach. We see that almost every year. So we'll talk about that next here on the Ticket Water Cooler on the Block with Strick and Buck on 93.7 The Ticket.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too, and that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more. When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it. We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors. Whether they are in the mountains of New Mexico, the plains of Nebraska and Kansas, the ranches of Oklahoma and Texas, the farmlands of Missouri and Arkansas, or the bayous of Louisiana, we are here for our hometowns. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard. Aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
Hi, welcome to Big Chain Bar and Grill. Can I get you a drink? Which game were you hoping to see? Doesn't matter. I don't know what channel the game's on anyway. Are you ready to order? Okay, here's a check. Come back and see us again, okay?
What?
Hey, welcome back into Upside.
Slow down and enjoy the game at the Upside Bar and Lounge. Comfortable seating, plenty of screens, a great food and drink menu, and no one trying to shove you out the door. Come in, hang out, and take it all in at the Upside Bar and Lounge, open daily just east of 27th and Pine Lake.
Listening to this Allstate commercial about savings might be the hardest thing about getting those savings. Save for simply becoming an Allstate customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. Allstate. Minimum effort, maximum reward.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
You knew the risks when you decided to drive drunk. There could be a crash. People could get hurt or killed. But that didn't stop you, did it? You knew you could get arrested. You could incur huge legal expenses. And you could possibly even lose your job. You were well aware of the consequences of driving drunk. But one thing's for sure. You were wrong when you said it was no big deal. Drive sober or get pulled over. This message brought to you by NHTSA.
Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers is all about the good and creating more of it. More drive-through celebrations, more weekend traditions, more family dinners and lunches, more car picnics and road trips, more desserts, maybe more second desserts, more celebrating being together as much as we can. There's always room for more good and more Freddy's. Keep the good going with a taste that brings you back.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Southeast Community College has learning centers in Falls City, Hebron, Nebraska City, Plattsmouth, Wahoo, and York so that you can take credit and non-credit classes at a center nearby without having to travel an hour or more to campus. By taking online classes and those at a learning center, you can earn your degree from SEC where and when it's convenient for you, all at a cost that won't stand in the way of your education. Learn more about SCC's learning centers at southeast.edu/learning centers. SCC, your path to possible.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back. Sure. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
And now a limerick from the world of Yum.
There once was a man in a bind. He's got the best wife in all mankind. And with Valentine's Day not that far away, he needs the greatest gift he can find. Jewelry can be hit or miss, and that vacuum was quickly dismissed. Flowers, they die. Homemade, don't be that guy. But what about that bakery in Beatrice? Liqueur cakes, you'll eat every crumb. Fruit cakes made with brandy, bourbon, and rum. And those chocolate cake squares. Do I have to drive you there? Get yourself to the world of Yum.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Partly to mostly cloudy and much colder today. A high of around 18. North winds will gust over 30 at times. Heading into tonight, partly cloudy, a low down to 0. Another bitterly cold day on the way for our Thursday. Partly cloudy skies with a high of around 17. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Still some NFL football action this week. Of course, the playoffs we're just past wild card weekend. Plenty more to go, but it is kind of hitting the offseason where you start to look ahead to what's going to happen the next year in college football. And, of course, even in the NFL as we look for the NFL draft coming around the corner. So this segment, I just kind of wanted to run through some of those lists. Mel Kiper Jr. had his big board out. No quarterbacks in the top 10. So that's kind of interesting because usually there will be one that jumps up there. There's plenty of teams up there that need one. It's just been long thought of as a group, as a quarterback class that doesn't have that type of potential. But where there's a will, there's a way. And there should be a will for plenty of these teams that are going to need a quarterback at the top. Of course, that does not include the number 1 pick in Jacksonville. They should have their quarterback in the future in the place with Blake Lawrence. So a lot of people expecting, and Mel Kiper included, Aiden Hutchinson to be the first pick off the big board, off the board altogether, to be the number 1 pick in the draft to Jacksonville. First of all, we'll start there. Are you a big buyer into Aiden Hutchinson being that good? There's a few people, I should say, even amongst in the office, that thought that maybe his late season push and in the sacks that he got against Ohio State maybe should not have landed him in the Heisman Trophy discussion. And now he somehow finished up second. I don't know. I wouldn't say he was quite that dominant. Some of it has to do with just kind of the competition around you, and there might not have been that obvious choice as far as outside of Bryce Young this year. But you're a guy that didn't think Bryce Young should have even won that, correct? So wouldn't Aiden Hutchinson have been your next choice?
Absolutely not. It would have been Will Anderson, the linebacker
right.
for Alabama, who got, I believe, 5th or 6th. He was the first one not invited. So Aiden Hutchinson, I do not think is going to be the most talented player from this draft class. So I don't think he should go number 1. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is out of Oregon is probably a better edge rusher than and Anderson or Aiden Hutchinson is. So yes, Hutchinson is going to be probably a solid player. We've seen guys come out of Michigan from that DN position, like a Rashawn Gary, who's with my Packers now. Took a while to kind of get to the point in their career where they were, really producing at a high level. But I don't know if Hutchinson has the physical tools that a Rashawn Gary does have. It's the combine is going to be telling on how Aiden Hutchinson will do right out of the gate and as he continues into his career. Because right now, I think he was a really good story, and he was the flag bearer for Northern football,
right?
Which I should be all over since I'm a big Big Ten guy. But I don't think Aiden Hutchinson should be the flag bearer, and I don't think he is going to be the guy that people expect him to be. He's certainly not going to be second half of the season Michigan Aiden Hutchinson in the NFL. He was at Michigan for 4 years before this season, and he didn't produce at this level. So I don't understand why we let these kind of one-hit wonders make us believe that they're going to completely turn around their career after one good year. Joe Burrow did it, but who else? Very few people can parlay a great college football season into a great pro career like Joe Burrow has.
Yeah, it's just one of those years. I don't think you have, like we talked about, kind of a weak quarterback class. I think there's a lot of depth and potential with all these guys, but it's hard to say that one guy stands above the other. Aiden Hutchinson seems to just kind of get that pass at this point. I don't know if I would necessarily believe in him to be that guy either. He kind of reminds me of Chris Long, who I believe is retired now, but played for a while. He was the second overall pick with the Rams in 2008, ended up winning a Super Bowl with the Patriots and Eagles, and even had a 13.5 sack season at one time. He's a very solid and very productive player, but never a Pro Bowler, just kind of at that kind of next level. And I could easily see Aiden Hutchinson kind of having a career like that, which again, Chris Long, great career. It's just when you're picked second or you're going to be picked first, there's going to be a lot of expectations for you. So maybe that goes along in that category. If you haven't seen Mel Kiper's top 10, it also includes David Ojabo, the numbers at number 7, the linebacker for Michigan. So I think that was probably a little bit underrated how much help Hutchinson had as far as the opposing quarterback had to worry about each of those guys coming after them. Either way, not a top 10 quarterback in this list. I've seen some other mock drafts that will sneak Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral in there, and I think there's still a lot of time, and none of those guys are necessarily. I always kind of go back to the reference of using a marker. Nobody's been, you talk about penciled in, markered in as the top quarterback this year. I think it will have to do with a lot of those pre-draft evaluations, like you said, film room meetings, stuff like that, because there's not an obvious choice. But I have a hard time believing that a quarterback will not be taken in the top 10 because you just have so many teams that need it. Now you could have teams trading down, but you just look at that top 5. The Giants have 2 picks. Are they ready to move off of Daniel Jones? The Jets obviously probably not in that category as they have just had their rookie quarterback this past year, but Detroit, Houston, maybe even Denver there. There's just a few teams, and then as the draft progresses, there's some teams down the line too that would have to trade up to get there. But it's just it's such a glamorous position, and and it can make the biggest difference in the world. I just go back to Daniel Jones being drafted, 6th, I believe, and nobody saw that coming. I think that we'll see a quarterback picked in the top 10, and maybe it is Pickett, but at this time, it's hard to tell which guy that would be. But again, I think it's just kind of a cluster of a lot of different guys, and sometimes the COVID season that kind of jumped up for Derek Stingley Jr. It's hard to completely evaluate him. I just don't know if there's a guy that's just far and above anybody else this year. So the NFL draft will be a lot of fun to follow. Also, did want to bring this up too as we go to the text line. Should hit that as well. Says completely agree. Hutchinson didn't do anything against NFL talent against Georgia. So that's probably fair enough. But yeah, that was a bad game altogether and a bad look for the Big Ten. But hopefully, as we look back on the Big Ten, we remember the Ann Arbor scene and beating Ohio State, not necessarily that Georgia game.
One team is hardly representative of a conference, just like
the best team.
Just like I like to state that the 2 best teams in the SEC are not representative of the rest of the conference. But I want to just touch on something real quick. There will certainly be draft classes where your top quarterbacks taken are your Dwayne Haskins, Daniel Jones, Drew Locks.
Yeah.
And then you look at the 2013 draft, you have E.J. Manuel, Geno Smith, and Mike Glennon. Those drafts will happen, but a lot of the times you're going to hit on 50% of the quarterbacks are going to hit, 50% aren't going to hit. So will there be a quarterback probably overdrafted this year? Absolutely. Is there going to be some sneaky value in a quarterback late in the draft? I think there's certainly potential for that as well. A guy like Sam Howell was once looked at as the consensus number 1 overall pick or the consensus top quarterback in this draft. He fell off a little bit after he lost a lot of his receiving talent after last season and lost 2 NFL running backs and come in and be that first round pick that they thought he was. So I don't know if it's a complete loss to go after a quarterback in this draft, and there will be somebody that takes him because you look at a team like the Steelers, they have the playoff ready roster. They just need the quarterback. Big Ben's probably done. You look at a team like Denver, who's constantly chasing a quarterback. So there will be a quarterback taken in the first round. I don't know if I've ever even seen, or I don't think I've been alive for a draft where there wasn't a quarterback taken in the first round.
Yeah.
And there's a premier on the position, so there will be a quarterback taken, and there will be a successful quarterback from this draft.
So guys that won't be taken, I did run down this list too, kind of the top stars of college football that decided to return. It's
Adrian Martinez.
It's a fun list. Adrian Martinez, of course, number 1 because he'd be a first round pick for sure. But no, it's exciting for me because I'm more of a college football fan than a pro fan. I think I've made that pretty obvious over the years. But I mean, obviously, I love football either way, and NFL playoff football is amazing. So I'm having a lot of fun this month diving into the professional ranks. But I still love college football a little bit more. So I like to see some of those guys come back. So it's kind of surprising. We heard about Mo Ibrahim. Maybe that's not so surprising here, just because he was coming off that injury. Jack Campbell at Iowa was kind of a big one. So some of the bigger names in the Big Ten that are coming back. Spencer Rattler had a decision to make. He could have went pro or given that an opportunity, decided to go to South Carolina. Nolan Smith on Georgia. A lot of people expected him to leave. He came back. Will McDonald at Iowa State. I think he had the sack record. He's right up there for like all-time sacks, and he came back. So I mean, we'll see if he can get it next year. Just a lot of names that make you feel good, and then overall, it's just a good year for college football coming back next year. Like this year, you didn't necessarily know who was going to be the leaders in college football. So there's years where you just don't have the headline names, and those are kind of fun in their own because Georgia wins a championship out of nowhere, and Bryce Young, as a freshman, wins the Heisman. So those things are kind of fun. But now next year, you look at it, with Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud and Caleb Williams and all those guys coming back at quarterback, and then the names just kind of pass on from to the different positions of Bijan Robinson, Travion Henderson, Jordan Addison, of course, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Brock Bowers, a lot of guys on offense, Deuce Vaughn that you could point to and are kind of known names. Your guy Will Anderson over on the defensive side of the ball, obviously going to be a big name. So it's just kind of fun. I looked at ESPN's way too early All-American team, which the way too early stuff's always kind of fun, but the All-American team probably won't change too much as far as when you see those preseason prognostications. Not that those end up being correct anyway, but it looks like a loaded year, and especially kind of around the Big Ten area, certainly with Alabama as well. But it feels like it's going to be fun more this offseason to be able to kind of match those things up. Because you're right, the whole offseason we talked about Sam Howell. And then like in this season, I think they lost pretty early. I think the first week, actually, if I remember correctly. Anyway, they ended up having not a very good year, a losing year, because they lost to South Carolina. So now I think it's just kind of fun that you have more names that are going to be known for this offseason of college football that we can blend in with our transfer talk and our portal talk, and of course our Husker talk, which we do every day here on the Ticket. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, another news in college football. Garrett Patterson actually is taking a role with the Texas program in an off-the-field role. Is that going to help? Do those things ever really help? We'll talk about that next year on the Ticket Water Cooler portion of On the Block with Strickenbach on 93.7 The Ticket. It is.
Hi, welcome to Big Chain Bar and Grill. Can I get you a drink? Which game were you hoping to see? Doesn't matter. I don't know what channel the game's on anyway. Are you ready to order? Okay, here's your check. Come back and see us again, okay?
What?
Hey, welcome back into Upside.
Slow down and enjoy the game at the Upside Bar and Lounge. Comfortable seating, plenty of screens, a great food and drink menu, and no one trying to shove you out the door. Come in, hang out, and take it all in at the Upside Bar and Lounge, open daily just east of 27th and Pine Lake.
And now a limerick from the world of Yum.
There once was a man in a bind. He's got the best wife in all mankind. And with Valentine's Day not that far away, he needs the greatest gift he can find. Jewelry can be hit or miss, and that vacuum was quickly dismissed. Flowers, they die. Homemade, don't be that guy. But what about that bakery in Beatrice? Liqueur cakes, you'll eat every crumb. Fruit cakes made with brandy, bourbon, and rum. And those chocolate cake squares. Do I have to drive you there? Get yourself to the world of Yum.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney, Nebraska, February 2nd and 3rd. Landmark Sprayer Clinic offers expansive equipment and technology training on different models of John Deere and Hagie sprayers. Learn about the newest technology, machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and more. We'll be offering free dicamba certification. Join us February 2nd and 3rd in Kearney. RSVP by calling your local Landmark location or at landmarkimp.com/events.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
You spend more time in your garage than outdoors in the wintertime. Isn't it time to get it organized? Call Travis at Classic Garage Solutions for his variety of organization packages. Turn your garage from a cluttered mess to a clean, organized space that'll be the envy of the neighborhood and something you can be proud of. You don't need to bring the same clutter from last year into the new year. Travis has storage options for cabinets, monkey bar shelving, or slat wall, and more. Call Classic Garage Solutions today at 402-730-1638.
Southeast Community College is training tomorrow's workforce today with our nearly 60 career and technical programs. We are doing our part to help employers fill vacancies during this current labor shortage, graduating students with skill sets employers are seeking. We're also helping to upskill the workforce by adding short-term credentials like certificates in many programs so that employees can get retraining quickly. Learn more about upskilling with SCC at southeast.edu/academics. SCC, your path to possible.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Herrick Services in Lincoln reminds us this winter to drive safe. Snow and black ice can pull your feet out from under you and put your car in a tailspin. In 2022, watch your speed, watch your step, and save those text messages for when it's not going to cause an accident. This safety message from Bart, Mike, and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending and snow removal specialists here in Lincoln. Visit them on the web at herrickservices.net. Herrick Services, wishing all a safe and healthy winter season.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Partly to mostly cloudy and much colder today. A high of around 18. North winds will gust over 30 at times. Heading into tonight, partly cloudy, a low down to 0. Another bitterly cold day on the way for our Thursday. Partly cloudy skies with a high of around 17. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure. Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SutterHeyman.com.
Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season. Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season, enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is On the Block with Strick and Bach, the Ticket Water Cooler portion of the show as we wrap things up here. For that portion of the show, I'm Jake Bachman. He is Big Sky. Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet Eric Strickland set to join us here at the top of the hour. And then at 5:25, Bruce Chubbuck, former Husker basketball player as well, will join us. So plenty more to get throughout the show here on 93.7 The Ticket. I did see this. This was kind of going around yesterday. People pretty excited about a music festival in Vegas because it would take them back to maybe their teenage angst sort of days. Paramore and My Chemical Romance headlining a Las Vegas festival entitled When We Were Young. Does that entice you at all, Big Sky? Or are you too young for that one?
I know both of those bands, and I've heard plenty of Paramore songs before. But Paramore's changed their style a little bit. They're a little bit more like pop punk than like emo punk.
Yeah.
So I mean,
They've been around for a long time.
I'd listen to Paramore.
You'd go just
but I'm
for
not
Paramore.
like a huge Paramore fan.
It almost has to be like a pretty quick drive. You wouldn't go to Vegas for this.
No.
No.
There are other festivals that I would much rather prefer to go to. There's one festival that's gonna be in Indianapolis this summer that has a number of bands that I like. It's like all of the weird alternative bands that I like, and I'm just like, that would be like the one festival I'd want to go to in my entire life.
You should go to a festival. I'd never had been to one before until a couple years ago, which it was a little bit, I think you should probably go when you're younger, but I was a little bit older, but I still went and had a lot of fun actually in Vegas for the EDC festival. That was a lot of fun. But this one's kind of interesting. If you got My Chemical Romance, I always kind of want to go to one of those concerts, especially because they were so, they're so like emo and so kind of whiny back in the day, and now they've had to grow up. It's been like 20 years. So what do they look like now? My sister actually went to a Hawthorne Heights concert, which was, they're very much an emo band, a couple years ago, and she thought it was funny because they kind of came out and said, we have jobs now and we have kids, so we got to go home. So they kind of ended the concert early, and it wasn't like it wasn't like back in the day where you're just, our parents don't understand, that sort of thing. So it's just kind of funny. But a lot of people are excited about that concert. I always find this interesting. Would you go to the same concert twice? Some people like to go to, like, they'll be like, I saw the Stones 13 times. For me, I just really just would like to see them once. If they come out with a new, obviously they're going to, whatever band it is, would be promoting their latest music. So if there's just an absolute banger of a set list, a new one, then maybe I'd like to go see the band again. Or maybe there's just, I don't know, maybe you had some terrible experience the first time, or you want to relive it with a new partner or something like that. I'm not really sure, but I think that's interesting among concert goers, that a lot of people like to see the same band several times. I'd like to see new things myself.
I've only been to like one real legit concert in my entire life, and that was Mumford & Sons in Milwaukee, and that's my favorite band ever. And at the concert, I was like, I want to go again. I want to go.
Oh yeah,
again.
you would buy again?
Absolutely, I would go to a Mumford & Sons concert again. that was probably the most fun night I've ever had. My brother and I are both huge fans of Mumford & Sons, so we were both there, just in the Pfizer Forum, brand new NBA arena.
Oh yeah,
and it was just, I'm trying really hard to not use Gen Z slang right now, but it was just really fun.
No, you can go ahead and use it. I can know.
I got through it, so it's all good.
Okay, I actually went to a concert in Milwaukee too. It was like a Rock the Vote concert or something back in 2008, maybe. Either way, that's a sneakily good city. I don't know why. It was just felt very welcoming. I didn't explore it too much. I mostly just went to the concert and just kind of hung out there for a day. But it seemed just very nice.
Well, Milwaukee as a tourist destination is really benefiting from urban gentrification. So yes, it's absolutely a super enjoyable place to go walk around. They've really put a lot of money into like the Riverside area and their downtown area right around the arena. So, and yeah, I think that's where my brother went to college. So I've been to Milwaukee a couple times, and it's just a really fun area. And the sports are happening right now. The Brewers are pretty relevant. They make the playoffs now. The Bucks are defending a title. No hockey to speak of, and the Green Bay Packers are the best team in the NFL. So.
Well, yeah, they have the number 1 seed,
and they have the best record.
They're the favorite. Don't get me wrong; they are. This just is a very interesting time to make that claim, as they obviously have to fight for it here in the next couple of weeks. A response off the text line: somebody doesn't like Mumford and Sons, so just let you know that. Also,
it's an acquired taste, and it's like wine. You can enjoy your Truly music, but I'll enjoy my nice fine wine music.
Dylan says, "I've seen Tech Nine 7 times." See, that's what I'm talking about. What, especially with Tech Nine. No, I like Tech Nine, sure enough, but he sounds the same as like every song basically sounds the same.
You're putting too
much.
much.
All Stones pretty similar.
You're putting too much emphasis on the music and not the experience, Bach.
Yeah, maybe it's
the experience. It's going in like just living it for that night.
I've still never made it to a Tech Nine concert because he comes around like every year, like 3 times. It feels like he's always touring the Midwest, obviously. And I just feel like I always have my next time I'll go or something.
I'm gonna be real honest. I have no idea who that is. So.
It's just like a Midwest rapper.
Oh, okay.
From Kansas City, but maybe if the Chiefs start getting going, then I'll go listen to it. Somebody asked, do you listen to a song more than once? Yeah, I listen to the same song. I listen to like 4 or 5 songs on repeat, and then I'll eventually shuffle them out and listen to new songs on repeat. But
what refuses to go have those same songs performed live in a fun environment.
It'd just be weird, like comparing that song between each concert. Like, it was better then. Was it worth more money the second time? I don't know. For me, I'm all about new experiences. I'm more about trying new things rather than finding something you like and sticking to it, I suppose.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's not good.
You get better tickets
to go to more concerts, but I don't see why you just rule out a going to the same band again because you've already seen them once, unless
twice.
They were really bad.
Maybe twice, but there's people that go like 13 times, or any time that band is within like a 100-mile radius, they're at the concert. I don't get it.
I'm just gonna go out and say maybe you've just never experienced an amazing concert before.
I've experienced amazing concerts.
You've experienced good concerts, but clearly none that have truly shown you that they're worth going to more than twice.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. I always say I had this great experience with Scott Stapp, not Creed, but Scott Stapp, when he came to Lincoln, and it wasn't that crowded of a concert, so I was able to go like to the 3rd row with Lanny. Actually, used to work here, and just scream Scott Stapp songs with him, Creed songs from the 80s, and of course everybody knows those songs, so it was pretty cool. I would want to get to this too. This is a sports station after all. Eventually or occasionally I should say, we diverge from sports, but I'm honestly not very good at it, so I don't do it very often, but I'm trying to blend it in a little bit more, especially in the off season. It'll be a long off season if I just try to keep the sports thing going for a long time. But there's somebody on the text line that says, why don't you guys quit twiddling your thumbs and get the Casey Thompson for Heisman campaign going already?
I think if you want to get that plane off the ground, I am not your co-pilot for that.
Oh, you're not the guy?
I might be sabotaging the plane.
You're pretty out on this whole Husker experiment in the 5th year, aren't you? The Scott Frost experiment?
No, it's just that's way too much Kool-Aid. That plane is powered solely on Kool-Aid. Yeah. So I can't. It's directly against my nature to support that.
But I say anything positive about the program, and you call it Kool-Aid. Sometimes if we get good things can happen.
If we get 5 games of the season, then he's clearly the best player in the country. Absolutely, let's get that thing going. But before is he even in Lincoln yet? Well, he has to be because classes started today. But
yeah,
he's been in Lincoln probably less than a week. Let's calm down on the Heisman talk.
Are you talking about the Big 12's leader in passing touchdowns last year?
He threw 9 interceptions, only 24 touchdowns. Let's calm down, Bach.
I'd say only 24 touchdowns that led the Big 12.
Joe Burrow threw 60 in one season.
Joe Burrow's pretty special now. Hold on.
Yeah, a Heisman special.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Casey Thompson's quite up there for the Heisman yet, but we'll see. He was asked, Husker Online did a really good interview with him, and they kind of asked him because he has 2 years of eligibility what was the plan, and the plan is for those 2 years. But if he blows up, then he'll reconsider. I mean, if he has a great year, he might head off early. Speaking of college football, Gary Patterson, of course, one of the best coaches over the last 25 years or so, kind of mutually agreed to separate with TCU, which means TCU was kind of forcing him out. But at the time, separated mid-season with the program. Now he's taking on a role with the Texas program, who he's actually beaten 6 out of the last 7 years at TCU in an off-field role as special assistant to the head coach. Will this make a difference for the Texas program? And do these moves ever make a difference unless you get like the guy on the field in a coaching role? I don't feel like you can get the Gary Patterson rub just by talking to him once in a while. And maybe you can, but you would be getting the same thing without giving him a little special assistant to the head coach role.
I kind of like the role actually, because it's going to prevent a too many cooks in the kitchen sort of environment down on the field. And Gary Patterson is a guy who's been around the Big 12 since TCU joined, and so he knows that conference better than probably Steve Sarkisian does. And clearly, he knows the Texas program well because he's beat them 6 of the last 11 times they've played. So I like bringing in a guy who has that veteran experience. He's got a lot of respect around the conference, and that's going to be a guy that's going to have plenty of advice for Steve Sarkisian how to build a successful program and a successful program in the state of Texas. So I think it's a really smart move by Texas. For Gary Patterson, I feel like he probably could have got a head coaching job somewhere.
It seems like he probably didn't want it if this is what he took.
If this is since this is what he took, he's probably looking to get a better head coaching position than he probably would have gotten this year by staying out of the pool for a year and letting history sweeten his resume a little bit by people looking back and saying, he wasn't as bad as we thought he was. And also, hopefully trying to be affiliated with a successful Texas program, or he's just looking to slowly drift into retirement, kind of, keep working, but not as hard as a head coach has to.
Yeah, I think that's how I read it. I mean, he's 61, but it could be that case too, where he's just kind of taking the year off as full-time head coach and want to jump back in. And we'll have to see. And a lot of it, sometimes it's just those guys don't know. It's kind of all they've known is being a head coach at TCU for however long, and now he's got to find something else to do. Does he want to take on that head coach responsibility somewhere? And obviously, like you're saying, I mean, if he does eventually want to get back into it, he'd be one of the top names on the market. Maybe. I mean, I think you'd have to kind of to look through kind of went wrong there at TCU in the latter half of the season last year. Well, not latter half, actually the first half of the season. As if you remember, they actually the game after they replaced him, Jerry Kill led them to a big upset victory. But in any case, TCU did not have a good season. Gary Patterson out there. It just makes you wonder. I mean, would you be okay? I mean, how much would you think Nebraska would benefit from bringing back Frank Solich or Tom Osborne into a special assistant to the head coach off-field role? Do you think that would do it? Would that do anything for you? It's just too far gone.
They haven't been at Nebraska in a while, so I think the fact that Gary Patterson was just coaching a team in Texas in the Big 12 and having success against the program he's getting a job at, absolutely. Maybe Nebraska doesn't really have somebody that fits that mold right now. But if they did, I would be completely fine with it. Maybe Kirk Ferentz wants a job if he gets mutually agrees to part ways with Iowa. Maybe we can get him in here.
We've been helping Kirk Ferentz get raises, so maybe he does owe us a little bit of something when he's done there at Iowa. It's interesting. I don't think it's a bad role. I think it's kind of it's like you said. There's a lot of stuff that you could say as potential there, but it just usually these things don't take off. It's usually just another guy around the office or around the program. It's cool enough and probably should help recruiting, right? I mean, that's a big name in the state of Texas, but it just usually never works out. And so I'll be interested to see if this thing's any different.
I feel like it's hard to measure the impact that these kinds of roles have. So I don't, what do you mean it usually fails?
Well, just kind of going back to Mike Riley. I mean, they were bringing anybody that's had any football experience around the team, right? And in these off-field roles and it did, like you said, kind of just led to this too many chefs in the kitchen type of approach of, well, yeah, everybody knows football, but nobody seems to have a rank higher than the next guy. And I get it. I mean, Gary Patterson's not going to ask for, to be a higher rank than Steve Sarkisian. But I don't know. I rarely see these roles that aren't coaching roles seem to make a big difference and lead to a whole lot of success or another job around the corner.
I don't think that they're meant to be a huge boon to the on-field product, but I certainly think that just any impact that is positive would make this a worthwhile endeavor for both parties.
Yeah, well, we'll be cheering against them either way because they're the Texas Longhorns, so we hope that it doesn't work out for either parties. But I do like Gary Patterson, so hopefully he'll just maybe quit that job after you and go somewhere else. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of that break will be Eric Strickland, the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet, and we'll break into some of that Casey Thompson Heisman hype. Well, not the Heisman hype necessarily, but he did, like I said, have that interview with Husker Online. It was very interesting that he said he loved Whipple's offense, the aspect of it that they pass quite a bit. I'm paraphrasing there a bit, but that's what we're getting into. Are we ready for a pass-happy offense here in Lincoln next year? We'll talk about that next here and On the Block.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Southeast Community College has learning centers in Falls City, Hebron, Nebraska City, Plattsmouth, Wahoo, and York so that you can take credit and non-credit classes at a center nearby without having to travel an hour or more to campus. By taking online classes and those at a learning center, you can earn your degree from SEC where and when it's convenient for you, all at a cost that won't stand in the way of your education. Learn more about SCC's learning centers at southeast.edu/learning centers. SCC, your path to possible.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SutterHeyman.com.
And now a limerick from the world of Yum.
There once was a man in a bind. He's got the best wife in all mankind. And with Valentine's Day not that far away, he needs the greatest gift he can find. Jewelry can be hit or miss, and that vacuum was quickly dismissed. Flowers, they die. Homemade, don't be that guy. But what about that bakery in Beatrice? Liqueur cakes, you'll eat every crumb. Fruit cakes made with brandy, bourbon, and rum. And those chocolate cake squares. Do I have to drive you there? Get yourself to the world of Yum. Herrick Services in Lincoln reminds us this winter to drive safe. Snow and black ice can pull your feet out from under you and put your car in a tailspin. In 2022, watch your speed, watch your step, and save those text messages for what it's not going to cause next. This safety message from Bart, Mike, and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending and snow removal specialists here in Lincoln. Visit them on the web at herrickservices.net. Herrick Services, wishing all a safe and healthy winter season.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney, Nebraska, February 2nd and 3rd. Landmark Sprayer Clinic offers expansive equipment and technology training on different models of John Deere and Hagie sprayers. Learn about the newest technology, machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and more. We'll be offering free dicamba certification. Join us February 2nd and 3rd in Kearney. RSVP by calling your local Landmark location or at landmarkimp.com/events.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Partly to mostly cloudy and much colder today. A high of around 18. North winds will gust over 30 at times. Heading into tonight, partly cloudy, a low down to 0. Another bitterly cold day on the way for our Thursday. Partly cloudy skies with a high of around 17. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You spend more time in your garage than outdoors in the wintertime. Isn't it time to get it organized? Call Travis at Classic Garage Solutions for his variety of organization packages. Turn your garage from a cluttered mess to a clean, organized space that'll be the envy of the neighborhood and something you can be proud of. You don't need to bring the same clutter from last year into the new year. Travis has storage options for cabinets, monkey bar shelving, or slat wall, and more. Call Classic Garage Solutions today at 402-730-1638.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance, Brokers Insurance Agency has the agents and solutions to help meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff@brokersinsurancene.com.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs
and dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and lover of bread, Jake Bockelman.
What? I like bread.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Hold up.
It is On the Block with Strick and Bach here on a Wednesday on 93.7 The Ticket. My name is Jake Buckman. I am back in studio and now reaching out to Eric Strickland with his Husker hat on and his Husker shirt on, representing the Big Red, which is a good day to do it, of course, because we've got Bruce Chubbuck coming on at 5:25. How's it going today, Strick?
Wonderful, wonderful day. It was quite nice. Dang near 77 out here today. So I'm a little vibrant. I love when I see some sun. You know what I mean? That's when I get real, just getting my swag be on when the sun is out. So yeah, it was a good day, man. How was your day today?
Oh,
JB?
not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. Just unfortunately not as nice here in Lincoln. So a little bit cold. So unlike you, in between the car ride and stuff, I'm just shivering and just wanting to get inside. But once you get inside, it's not a bad day. Not as much of a newsworthy day. It seems like with the portal and all that stuff, it's just we've been flooded with news several times over the last couple of weeks. Not so busy today. A few things going on there, but nothing huge for Nebraska. So, but I did think that there was a really great interview from Husker Online for new quarterback Casey Thompson, and you can go check that out. Obviously, go to Husker Online. We have those guys on the show from time to time, but it really just kind of there's a lot of tidbits in there. Like I said, I'd encourage you to go check it out. If you talked to Adrian Martinez, you talked to Tim Beck, it was just kind of all over the place. So it was very cool. But a few things that kind of jump out to you in that interview, or at least jumped out to me. The biggest one was that Casey Thompson really liked the aspect of Whipple's offense. The fact that they like to air it out. He mentioned how last year they had a game where they threw 55, 60 times, and the lowest that they ever threw the ball was 28 times. And he's a guy, and Casey Thompson, that said his goal is to beat his record of 7 touchdowns against which he had against Kansas in one game. So he wants to throw 8. I mean, so I think altogether, just listening to him in that interview and kind of what he was thinking, talking over from Whipple, is that he expects Nebraska to fling the ball around. And I think the wide receivers are some of the best, the group, one of the best groups on the team. Obviously, you're going to need some protection from that offensive line. But I think it's something that we've been kind of hesitant to buy into. A lot of Husker fans have in the Midwest, in the Big Ten West, where teams are usually winning. The teams that are winning, I should say, are throwing the ball like 15 times a game and relying on a power running game and some defense there. Maybe we should have known that this was, and I don't know if this is the case for sure, but it sounds like that's what they sold Casey Thompson is on. And maybe we should have known that was the case, given the fact that they were looking at the offensive coordinators that they were. I mean, some pass happy type of coordinators. Do you think that that's something that can work for this team? And do you think that that's something that can work in the long run at Nebraska, if that's the way they decide to go?
Well, there was something that you said that was was pretty noteworthy, in that they're gonna look to chunk it around a little bit. I think that there's a difference between what Nebraska offenses in the past have been able to do with Adrian, is that Adrian's progression, his progression was a lot better. He got somewhat better. I think he didn't read as much, and so that cost him a little problem. So when he got into some trouble, he got into his feet. And I think in listening to what Casey Thompson is saying, that, having the mindset of wanting to throw 8 touchdowns, that in itself shows that he's willing to stick in the pocket and understand and progress through his reads, which would go from whoever his receiver is to who's next to dump off. And then if, obviously you don't have that much time, but he'll be able to progress through those reads pretty quickly, and then make a decision. That's what it sounds like he wants to do. So when we look at, that behind, Whipple's play calling with Pickett, there was tremendous development. I think that's why you look at Chubba Purdy, probably a long-term option, and you look at more of a more mature guy in Casey Thompson coming in. The Pitt's offense was, the best in the ACC at scoring, as they averaged 43 points a game in 2021. So Whipple's offense, has continuously improved from his arrival there. So in 2019, his first season with the Panthers, they only averaged 21 points a game, which was second to last. It isn't even that the Husker offense has a problem moving the ball. That wasn't their problem. I think most of their problem came when they got into the red zone and were unable to score, or there just was problems there finishing. And I think that's where Whipple comes in. So when we look at Whipple's 3 offensive, terms there at Pitt, there was steadily improvement in statistical categories such as yards per point and points per play. So in the points per play department, they went from 112th at 17.5 in 2019 to 60th at 14.1 in 2020 to 11th at 12.1. So that was a huge progression. Whereas when you look at Nebraska's, statistics throughout those same seasons, they went from 74th at 14.9 in 2019 to 114th, which is a drop off, at 16.9 to 220, which then stayed kind of in that same range at 111. So in points per play, Whipple's offenses also went from 112th, 28, basically 28%, to 90th at 34%, and then in 220 to 16th. So we've seen progression in the positive direction, and that's what we're hoping in Nebraska, who finished at 69th, 171st. So we're hoping that they will be able to use those numbers to be able to push numbers into the victory column, whereas they weren't able to finish games. Now they're hopefully able to take those statistics and turn them into victories, and that's what we're hoping, coming into this Whipple era.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be a different approach, I think. And you do have, like you said, there's certain metrics that would say that Scott Frost's offense did pretty well here at times. I mean, 2 years ago, like the 2020 season, there's not many metrics that would say that. But especially last year where, total yards, stuff like that, they're one of the top offenses in the Big Ten. They just couldn't convert those to points. So I'm kind of fearful and kind of thought all along that I don't know if you need an overhaul on offense. I think that maybe you just need some adjustments. I think they went with the overhaul approach, and I don't know how much they're going to blend those offenses. For what it's worth, we did hear from Casey Thompson in an interview with Husker Online too, say try to stick up for himself as a runner a bit too, saying that he's ran the option before when he was a kid. That's how he kind of grew up playing quarterback, and he was.
Well, his dad definitely did it well.
Oh yeah, and he's been labeled a dual threat quarterback coming out of high school. So I mean, it's almost like he he has passed himself out of that a little bit because of the numbers that he's been able to put up at Texas. And of course, they just didn't use him quite as much in the ground game. So you kind of wonder, are they going to do that a little bit more? And I hope they do. I hope that they blend the ideas a little bit more, because I don't care how you do, how you do it, I should say, just win the games. Like, I think we're all at that point, right? But I'm just not sure that long-term flinging the ball around 40 times a game is the most sustainable way to win in the Big Ten West. Purdue kind of does that. They've won. Obviously, had one of their better seasons last year at 9-4. So it's not impossible. It's just not really the recipe or the blueprint that has worked for the teams in the Big Ten West. And that fear, I guess, is confounded by the fact that this staff already kind of had their hard-headed ways with the ways of the Big Ten in the Big Ten West, where, we all know the first press conference when Scott Frost said, we're hoping they have to adjust to us. Well, in the end, who won that battle, the Big Ten or Scott Frost? The Big Ten did. And Mark Whipple has a lot of stuff that you love on his resume, and coming off his best year as an offensive coordinator. But one thing that he doesn't have is experience in the Big Ten. So I hope that that's not overlooked while they're trying to transition this thing, and we kind of go through the same thing round two with the new offensive coordinator.
Well, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think they will sit down and hash it out. I mean, that has been the question. What will it resemble? Will it resemble Frost's attack with elements of Whipple, or will it, look a little bit, like Whipple's with elements of Frost? But I think there'll be a combination of both. I don't think they would have brought Applewhite in. I don't think they would have been, attacking the portal the way they were with running backs if they didn't have a plan to do so. I mean, so I think there'll be a combination of those things. I think when you look at Whipple's offense, in 2019, they averaged 380 yards, passing yards per game, with 6.6 yards per attempt, whereas they only rushed, 118 at 3.5 per carry. Those averages remain kind of the same in some semblance of that. But in 2021, they were able to, pass, and it actually wasn't, as we're speaking, it wasn't just super pass heavy in that. When they first came, it was more pass heavy than when he ended, even with the success that Pickett had. So, on the last time there, it was 350 passing yards with 8.7 per play, which was 16th in the nation, but their rushing was 152. You know what I'm saying? So it actually increased. So I don't think it's what we in our minds are triggered just to sling it around everywhere, because we show that, in 2021, he actually increased in their rushing game, as well. From when he started, and he came in with a pass happy style of offense. So I don't think that'll be the case. I also think something to take a look at is when you look at the combinations of what quarterbacks you got. I think I don't think Casey Thompson actually fits a Pickett mode. It's kind of crazy when you look at it, because the physicality of the mode of which Pickett looks, which is similar to Pickett, is where you have Heinrich Harburg, who is 6'5", 200 pounds. He has a similar, kind of makeup to what Pickett was, in that he has a strong arm. He's athletic. He'll break the pocket and look to run if needed and necessary. You also have that same thing in Richard Torres. They're the ones that have the similar, type that Pickett was. Whereas I think, Smothers is probably the outlier. And then you have, Casey Thompson, who both have the ability above average arms, and the same thing with Purdy. So, but probably can run a little bit more. So I think they've got some pieces that would fit the puzzle of what they're trying to accomplish and what they would like to do. The only thing that when we look at those other guys, and Harburg and Torres, who's coming off an injury as well, trying to rehab that to get back on board, but they're just inexperienced. So that's where you have the issue. You have the issues of inexperience from the top three, and then, or the top four, and then, top three. And then, Casey Thompson's probably the most experienced of having that look. So that's why you're looking to him initially. But again, there is going to be a quarterback fight. They're going to be battling. It's not anybody's to walk in that room. So it's who's going to show up and show out. That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, and you wonder too because at times I think the thought is if you have quarterback number one in the room, you're going to stick with him. And when we obviously saw that through the struggles last year with Adrian Martinez, they stuck with him. Whereas the previous year they went to Luke McCaffrey to try to get a spark going. I like the competition aspect where you can't have a 4 interception game, or that you'll head over to the sidelines, and it might not be that you're going to be there for the next game or the next few games or whatever, but it's really not up to you. Once you get benched, it's up to the guy that goes in there, and if he can really turn it on and provide a spark, then again, I mean, you can lose your job on any time that you go to the sidelines. So
the good thing about that too, man, is that you're not losing any of those two initially, right? They have no means by which to leave. So you've got Purdy, you've got Thompson. So you've got two solid ones, right? The only ones that have the options to leave are Torres, Harburg, and maybe some others.
Yeah.
so you've got two, in the room, which before there was, probably question as who's going to fill that void and make a difference in what they do. I don't think we had any semblance of that in the recent past. You pretty much knew it was going to have to be Adrian Martinez because the options were very limited, behind there, right?
Yeah, so I think that'll be interesting all year long. Is the guy, whoever the starter is, and like we said, we project Casey Thompson, but it could be any of these guys once the spring battle gets going and bleeds over into fall. How much are they looking over their shoulder? How much do they know that the guy behind them is going to push them and is pushing for playing time and trying to get their job? I think that will be very healthy. Just kind of comparing it to the past, and I've heard Jay Foreman kind of say this before. Once you get to the NFL or once you get to the NBA, they're not so easy on you as far as the promises and your starting job and stuff like that. They're drafting a guy every year to replace you, and you have to keep them out. So at some point, a lot of people are kind of speculating. Well, what does Logan Smothers think of all this? He's got to feel bad, but at some point, if you want to do this for a living, or this isn't everybody gets to play, peewee football anymore. This is competition. You've got to grow up. If you're going to be the starter at Nebraska, you better earn it. It just can't be handed to you.
That's exactly right. I reference back to Harrison with the Steelers, right? I'm reminded of the story in which. And this is unfortunate of what has transpired in the past. I didn't grow up in this, but the kids of this new generation has, where he said his kids came home and they brought in these, 8th place trophies or thanks for participating trophies, and he broke them, and he was like, we about winning in this house. It ain't about no participation. Bring home a victory or a championship trophy. We don't want to hear that mess about you participating. Go out there and get a win, and people gave him, went off on him about that. And I thought that was the craziest thing, because I have those same sentiments. I mean, more power to you. And however, I think that just breeds mediocrity. I think it totally breeds mediocrity. So I come from that family of, go out there and earn the victory. You know what I mean? My dad used to put me out there when I was, 10, 11, let me get beat up, took me to the base gym and said, hey, these are men out here, compete. I had to fight. I had to scrap. They were like, the only thing my dad fought for me on in that whole scenario was, guys were saying, well, he ain't playing. Yes, he is, type of thing. That was the biggest fight of that whole thing. And when they saw that, hey, this little man is out here battling a little bit, that helped me to become who I was and the player that type I was, whether it be football, baseball, basketball, that mentality of fight, you know what I mean? You're going to have to scrap, get beat up. And that's what I think has happened to some of our kids of the new generation. They don't want to compete. They just want to go where it's easy.
Yeah, and that's it's just kind of interesting, and the transfer portal is going to kind of open that up. It's an adjustment I think we're all going to have to make, but like you said, you can't get too far. I mean, I think that people are going to separate, from maybe I don't want to say parenting styles or kind of the competition level that they grow up in. Is it really takes away? I mean, if you get a trophy for 8th place and somebody else gets a trophy for 1st place. and it's the same size trophy, then what difference does it make? It really takes away from the struggle that you want to get that trophy, right? I mean, you got to dream that, and if you never get it, so be it. That's that's only supposed to go. That's why it's special. It's only supposed to go to the top of that league or whatever. So hopefully we'll see a change of that. But I don't think
you either got to get better or make those around you better. You know, I mean, that's where it really comes down to, right? You've got to get better or make everybody in that room become better, you know, and that's what competition really does. It makes you, I mean, I could talk to every Husker in this room, on the phone, from Cluster Johnson, Rashawn, you know, Terrence Batt, and we can go down a list of everybody, and they would say it was the competition for the spot that made them better. You know what I mean? It wasn't that Grant Wistrom was given the defense or Jared Thomas. No, they came in and they had to compete. And Dante Jones was looking up like, shoot, I got to get better if I want to get on the field. That's what breeds, I think, the best of anybody out there. And that's why Kentucky had been so successful, right? It wasn't that they just got one and done. It isn't that when you go to Alabama, you know what I mean? You go to Alabama and you look up and you're just like, Nick Saban's like, hey, we promised this to you. Shoot, they come in there and they're like, I better win a job or I'm not going to be getting out on that field. That's why they're successful, man. Period.
Yeah, it's fun listening to VJ talk about his scout team days and all the future NFL players that were on there that would kind of help each other grow up and grow along. And certainly that sort of thing probably going on in Alabama right now. And it'd be great if Nebraska can finally get back to that. But like I said, I mean, and it's kind of sad. I think that like you're saying, that mentality is hurting kids now, because I think the transfer portal it has a lot. I mean, as far as player mobility and all that, and you know, opportunity to make money, it's what we've been waiting for a long time. So it's very cool. But the sad part is, I think it's well over 50%. I don't know where they're at, but most guys, it seems like, that hit the portal aren't getting the response that they expected, aren't finding a landing spot in many cases. So they're just kind of giving up a lifetime opportunity and a scholarship just to see if the grass is greener somewhere else, and nobody gives them a call. That probably partially comes from being brought up, like you said, where just being believed that they're so on top. They've always been great. And maybe if you're a 4-star player in high school, it's hard to come down from that, right? You've been told that whole time that you're the man, you're going to be great at the next level. And then so but it's just hurting. It's sad to see that a lot of these kids are leaving their situations, not fighting to get better as juniors and seniors, getting impatient, and then believing that they're just going to get all these offers from the portal, and some of them don't end up landing anywhere.
One final point before we go to break. This right here is one of the instances of that is that the COVID situation has basically put everything kind of 1 year behind. So you have a group of older classmen that are now filling spaces and voids as well, that is creating a logjam in these specific spaces. So when you're coming into a logjam of what's left, what's coming, and there's just nowhere else to go. So you might as well stick it and stay it, because that's probably going to be the transition for the next 3 to 4 years still. That's still going to have to wane out, right? So that is another piece to that puzzle.
Yeah, and we'll get into some more Husker football talk here in a little bit, but we did want to jump to basketball. Like we said, Bruce Jubbick going to join the show at 5:25. But coming up next, we'll tell you why the Memphis Grizzlies, of all franchises, should be one that Nebraska basketball looks to for inspiration. We'll talk about that next here on the Block on 93.7 The Ticket.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Southeast Community College is training tomorrow's workforce today with our nearly 60 career and technical programs. We are doing our part to help employers fill vacancies during this current labor shortage, graduating students with skill sets employers are seeking. We're also helping to upskill the workforce by adding short-term credentials like certificates in many programs so that employees can get retraining quickly. Learn more about upskilling with SCC at southeast.edu/academics. SCC, your path to possible.
You spend more time in your garage than outdoors in the wintertime. Isn't it time to get it organized? Call Travis at Classic Garage Solutions for his variety of organization packages. Turn your garage from a cluttered mess to a clean, organized space that'll be the envy of the neighborhood and something you can be proud of. You don't need to bring the same clutter from last year into the new year. Travis has storage options for cabinets, monkey bar shelving, or slat wall, and more. Call Classic Garage Solutions today at 402-730-1638.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney, Nebraska, February 2nd and 3rd. Landmark Sprayer Clinic offers expansive equipment and technology training on different models of John Deere and Hagie sprayers. Learn about the newest technology, machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and more. We'll be offering free dicamba certification. Join us February 2nd and 3rd in Kearney. RSVP by calling your local Landmark location or at landmarkimp.com/events.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increasing, but the lots will not be filling up anytime soon. In fact, most vehicles are being pre-sold and are leaving the same week as they arrive. If you want your new Chevrolet or GMC, this is a great time to build a vehicle and place an order. Our sales team will work right with you to build the exact vehicle you want. At Koppel, we appreciate your business and sell vehicles at a fair price. So come check us out or visit us online at koppelcars.com.
When it's really cold and your furnace goes out, the last thing you need is somebody who just wants a piece of your checkbook. Several families were told they had a cracked heat exchanger and needed a new furnace. Fortunately, they called Bryant for a second opinion. Many were found to only need minor repairs. Anytime you need furnace repair, call the experts at Bryant first. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. We do whatever it takes.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance, Brokers Insurance Agency has the agents and solutions to help meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff@brokersinsurancene.com.
Fruitcakes are just for Christmas, right? Gosh, I feel sorry for you. I mean, what if we had done that with bacon? Bacon is only for breakfast. We'd never have bacon cheeseburgers. We'd never be able to save a salad by adding bacon bits. We'd never have Brinner. That's breakfast for dinner. Don't limit yourself. Fruitcakes for St. Patrick's Day. Fruitcakes for graduation. Fruitcakes for Thursday. Beatrice Bakery and Grandma's Fruitcakes are perfect for every occasion. Check them out in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
This is Dan Friedman. In recent years, over 1/3 of all Nebraska traffic crashes have been caused by drivers aged 15 to 19. If you're a teen driver, don't become another statistic. Keep your eyes on the road. And if you're a parent, please remember that safe driving habits start with you. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices. For almost 60 years, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
Herrick Services in Lincoln reminds us this winter to drive safe. Snow and black ice can pull your feet out from under you and put your car in a tailspin. In 2022, watch your speed, watch your step, and save those text messages for when it's not going to cause an accident. This safety message from Bart, Mike, and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending and snow removal specialists here in Lincoln. Visit them on the web at herrickservices.net. Herrick Services, wishing all a safe and healthy winter season.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is On the Block with Strick and Bach here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. I'm Jake Buckman. He is Eric Strickland, and we are rolling through today, getting through some Husker football and basketball topics, and that's where we find ourselves now on our Husker basketball topic here. And it's something that you pointed out to me today, as we've kind of been trying to find. Obviously, Nebraska basketball is struggling. We all know that. 0-8 in the conference. They've lost several games in a row, and it's just been a tough go at it. And all of that, they've been competitive in many of their games. Of course, we can complain about the blowouts and some of the frustration there, and we do. And that's not acceptable, but there still feels like there's an opportunity for this team to come together. And so more so than just complaining and walling in our own sorrow, we try to find ways to make Nebraska basketball better. And Strick, you mentioned a team that Nebraska basketball might want to look at is the Memphis Grizzlies and what they've done, kind of the surprise in the NBA this year. And how have they taken that step up to become one of the better teams in the NBA?
Well, what they've done is they've basically implemented pieces, and in a nutshell, they've taken on their roles and they basically do what they do and do it well, right? So they got rid of Valanciunas, and their big guy, who everybody and their mama thought was a big mistake. So one of the things that Memphis has had is they have had consistent turnover. Like, they've had all these different pieces coming, going, being traded, moved, draft here, this draft moved. I mean, they've had something very similar in that aspect. So, but when you look at it in totality, you got to look at it from this standpoint. Injuries. What injuries have done, like, for example, to Goggles, it has allowed Eduardo Andre to grow. With the injuries of also to Trey, it has allowed Tamanaga and Wilcher to emerge a little bit in different roles. And then, but what we hope is there's a song. I mean, there's a group out there called Troop, and they had a troop called Spread. They had a song called Spread Your Wings and Fly. We're hoping that Tamanaga and the Wilcher likes begin to spread their wings and begin to let it fly away. You know what I'm saying? But right, there's been periods of misses and just a lot of bad shots and stuff like that. We're hoping that they begin to move that into more making of shots. So, there's guys that the Grizzlies have on their organization that have had to step up. And so we've seen signs of that, and we just haven't seen a breakthrough in that aspect concerning the Huskers at this point. Like the Grizz also, we've seen a guy named Dylan Brooks and Jaren Jackson Jr., who have been allowed to grow into their roles and had to step up with some of the injuries to when Ja was out for periods of time and other things of that nature on their team. They've had to step up and make the difference. Verge, I believe, has the ability to be similar to Ja Morant. Now, no, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying he's Ja Morant. I'm saying he has that similar type of speed and quickness, because what happens is Ja Morant is able to penetrate the lane and make the right plays to those shooters on time, on target, that has allowed them to be successful. This is why these guys have been able to shoot with high clips in their numbers, and their percentages are very well. So that is that part. So we've also seen some of those sides in the last game with Bryce, who's been able to do that as well. So if Wilcher could become like Zaire Williams for their team, he doesn't have the same size as Zaire Williams, but he can be efficient and effective on the defensive end for Nebraska. If we can see that, they can begin to make noise. If we can let Tamanaga be similar to what Desmond Bane is to the Memphis Grizzlies, who is a straight up shooter who can stroke it out of TCU, that is a much needed element that Nebraska has been making, that we need to be able to see in order to make the difference. If now with Trey's return, we can see a little bit of what Herb Jones is to them on the defensive side of the ball, who can defend at 3 different levels, who is a lockdown defender with the type of athleticism, who will bang on your head in transition if given the opportunity. So that's the parts that we see that have similar elements. Now, let me progress. That becomes then the difference. What is the difference? They do not have a Ja Morant. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so let's just get that and make that clear. They do not have a Ja Morant. But one of the things that has been good is that even without Ja Morant, they have been 11-2. So without their best player, they were 11-2. They've had a 5-game win streak without Ja Morant. Now, with Ja Morant, that 5-game turned into a 10-game win streak. So there is a difference with that, right? They are also different in that when challenge presented to them, that Memphis Grizzlies team stepped up. This team hasn't found a way to meet the challenge yet. They haven't been able to finish. They haven't played as their identity and motto is, which I'll get into in a second, is their identity and motto is 48 minutes of passion play, which the Huskers haven't been able to do. That is the difference, but yet they still have the potential to do, right? So when we look at it, when I say this, they've had big wins. This is what Nebraska has to do, I think, to finish off their season. They've had big wins against the Suns, the Nets, the Warriors, the Cavs, and they've won 16 games over the top 15 teams, led by a 6'3" guard in Ja Morant. 2 wins against the Warriors, 1 against the Suns, 3 wins against the Lakers, 1 against the Jazz, 1 against the Heat, 1 against the Nets, 2 against the Cavs, 1 against the Sixers, and 2 against the Nuggets. Now, the last component that I'll talk about is the Sixers. They are first in net rating. They're first in defensive rating. They're first in win percentage. They're first in steals. This is since November, and they're first in blocks. That's what Nebraska has. That shows you that they're playing with passion. They're playing with fervor. And then it comes down to this. And they also talk a little trash about it. They let you know about it.
Yeah.
But it comes down to what Ja said in a tweet. Ja tweeted, he says, "We are playing 48 minutes a game. We share the ball. And we are basically have the identity, which creates their identity of battling, being physical, and then letting you know about it." What Nebraska is missing in that tweet is what, Bob? Identity. Nebraska doesn't have an identity. They know what their identity is, and that identity is turning into wins each and every night. That's what that's what I see could be the correlation to success if Nebraska, takes that to heart.
Well, I like the comparison. Like you said, Nebraska doesn't have necessarily a Ja Morant, but paring it down to the college level, you have some guys that could have a similar skill set, like you said. But and so it's always hard to find the perfect comparison. But this is a very good one as far as if for any team that doesn't necessarily think that they have the superstars, because I think Ja Morant's probably the only guy on that roster that's ever going to make an All-Star game. I could be wrong. Maybe Desmond Bates do well, or Jaren Jackson.
You ain't wrong. Facts.
Yeah,
and he got snubbed last year. I think. I don't think he made it last year. So yes, but I think if you had, let's be real about it. If you take Alonzo Verge and Trey McGowens and put them together, you could have a Ja Morant.
Yeah, it's a lot of athleticism, a lot of speed there together.
You could have now I'm not going to say it's going to be the same, but you could have the similar qualities of a Ja Morant, no doubt.
Yeah, and it's just I think that hopefully the Trey McGowens thing, that's kind of what Nebraska's been leaning on and hoping for as far as the future and the hope coming back there. It's kind of sad that they made it all the way. You kind of hope that, there's a hope that he'll get back. And then before then, they'll kind of hit their stride. And then when he gets back, it'll be an extra piece. It seems like they just weren't able to get over it, the hump. And so now they need him to save them. And I think that he should be reinserted in the starting lineup based on his play the other night. Maybe he'll take a few more games, but that's my hope, is that it allows Casey Tominaga to get back into you're our sharpshooter role. You don't have to worry about all this other stuff, and you still do. We like to see you develop as a player overall, but you're not ready to be a Big Ten wing. I'm sorry, you're not big enough to. You might not ever be because just your frame. So I think they got to work on him more as a ball handler and in that manner. And I know that he can shoot, but I hope that he can focus more on that rather than like this last game out, he didn't take a 3-point shot.
Right.
And so, I mean, I just think that when you talk about roles, like you said, that's his role. Trey McGowens, you can bring back the defensive intensity, the best on-ball defender on the team. So you can start to kind of carve out these certain roles that each team will have. I liked at the end that they when they needed a bucket, they were going to Bryce McGowens, and then if that didn't work, they were going to Alonzo Verge to create. That seems like a pretty solid plan. So I just think a lot of it is going to be back here with Trey. There's such a thin margin of error for this team, and it's thinner than I expected it to be. But when they lost Trey, I mean that spoke volumes, and we saw what happened after that. I just think him coming back, along with a much easier second half stretch of the Big Ten schedule, might be able to get them ramped up and get 4 or 5 wins before this is all done. And I don't think that's too much to ask.
You're absolutely right. I think also too that they have to they do some things that they need to do way better than they have. I watched games, and I went back and watched games, and they don't screen very well. Screening is a selfless thing. They do a lot of run bys. They do a lot of just run and just get in a spot. They need to put bodies on people and make sure you're selfless in that specific act and not so hurried and worried about getting the ball back. The ball will come back to you. I guarantee it'll come back to you. If you it's kind of like that karmic, thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, do and it shall be returned unto you, right? If you set screens and make sure somebody gets open, I guarantee you somebody eventually do the same with you. It becomes contagious, right? They don't do a very good job at that, I've noticed, and they need to do that because they need to be able to get open shots and not just, a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you said, it's just at least then you can kind of start your motto and your kind of the way that your team is viewed as a physical team, as a tough team. They just kind of miss that identity of, okay, what is Nebraska going to do well night in and night out? It's tough to know what that is at this point in time. So hopefully they can kind of figure some of that stuff out. We'll continue a little bit of basketball later in the show. Bruce Chubbuck set to join at 5:25. Coming up next, a little bit more basketball as well. Your chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. It's Shootout with Streak. All you have to do is beat a former NBA player in a shootout, and you can walk home with $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. That's coming up next here on the Block.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance, Brokers Insurance Agency has the agents and solutions to help meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff at brokersinsurancene.com.
Southeast Community College is training tomorrow's workforce today with our nearly 60 career and technical programs. We are doing our part to help employers fill vacancies during this current labor shortage, graduating students with skill sets employers are seeking. We're also helping to upskill the workforce by adding short-term credentials like certificates in many programs so that employees can get retraining quickly. Learn more about upskilling with SCC at southeast.edu/academics. SCC, your path to possible.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
This is Dan Friedman. In recent years, over 1/3 of all Nebraska traffic crashes have been caused by drivers aged 15 to 19. If you're a teen driver, don't become another statistic. Keep your eyes on the road. And if you're a parent, please remember that safe driving habits start with you. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices. For almost 60 years, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from the program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 o'clock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you're talking, they will hear you. Every single time.
Why are we getting killed like this? Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You know you want that smoky, tangy, sweet, and spicy sauced and tossed Wingstop. But you just brought a haul of groceries home from the store. It's cool. No one expects you to shop and cook in the same day. So let the flavor experts at Wingstop hook you up with mouth-watering wings, crispy tenders and thighs, fries and sides delivered to your door. You can always cook tomorrow. That's why the fridge was invented. Get it delivered at wingstop.com.
Order online now from the new Wingstop located at 5001 O Street.
When it's really cold and your furnace goes out, the last thing you need is somebody who just wants a piece of your checkbook. Several families were told they had a cracked heat exchanger and needed a new furnace. Fortunately, they called Bryant for a second opinion. Many were found to only need minor repairs. Anytime you need furnace repair, call the experts at Bryant first. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. We do whatever it takes.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increasing, but the lots will not be filling up anytime soon. In fact, most vehicles are being pre-sold and are leaving the same week as they arrive. If you want your new Chevrolet or GMC, this is a great time to build a vehicle and place an order. Our sales team will work right with you to build the exact vehicle you want. At Koppel, we appreciate your business and sell vehicles at a fair price. So come check us out or visit us online at koppelcars.com.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney, Nebraska, February 2nd and 3rd. Landmark Sprayer Clinic offers expansive equipment and technology training on different models of John Deere and Hagie sprayers. Learn about the newest technology, machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and more. We'll be offering free dicamba certification. Join us February 2nd and 3rd in Kearney. RSVP by calling your local Landmark location or at landmarkimp.com/events.
Herrick Services in Lincoln reminds us this winter to drive safe. Snow and black ice can pull your feet out from under you and put your car in a tailspin. In 2022, watch your speed, watch your step, and save those text messages for what it's not going to cause an accident. This safety message from Bart, Mike, and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending and snow removal specialists here in Lincoln. Visit them on the web at herrickservices.net. Herrick Services, wishing all a safe and healthy winter season.
It's time to play Shootout with Strick. Call now, 464-5685, to take your shot against Eric Strickland. Shootout with Strick. Brought to you by Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Time to play the game!
Give us a call, 402-464-5685. That's the Honda of Lincoln hotline for your chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. All you have to do is beat Strick in a game show at Shootout with Strick. Quite easy setup here. It's a couple easy either-or questions and then a money ball shot there you get 40 seconds to do it. Strick's been actually on a roll, even yesterday, getting all the points possible. So hopefully, Strick, you'll leave it open for somebody to compete today and have a chance and maybe miss one of these questions here. But we don't have a contestant yet. Give us a call, 402-464-5685. We'll go ahead and start it because of time constraints, but we do need a contestant, 402-464-5685.
If nobody shows up, Strick gets a COVID win. Shoot, I get a COVID win, and then at that point, number 3 caller, come on in.
Yeah, number 3 caller could win at that point, but you might as well play. And by the way, if you do lose to Strick, the 3rd caller wins the chicken. And you, even if you lose, could be that 3rd caller. We do not discriminate against you if you lose the game. You still get an opportunity to ultimately win and walk home with chicken. So give us a call, 402-464-5685. But first, we'll see what the opponent has to to get to today. We'll see if Strick can put up 6 points like he did yesterday. Today's category is all-time wins in college football. Who has more all-time wins? It'll be kind of that either-or setup. Of course, this comes from a little bit of talk on Twitter about who is a blue blood and who's not, and maybe we'll open that up to discussion afterwards. But we'll start in just a few seconds here. Strick, are you ready for your all-time wins in college football shootout?
Let's get it.
All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. Who has more wins, Wisconsin or Iowa all time?
Iowa.
It's actually Wisconsin. LSU or Georgia?
Georgia.
It is Georgia. Texas or Notre Dame?
Notre Dame.
It is Notre Dame. Kansas or Florida State?
Florida State.
It's actually Kansas. How many teams have 900 or more wins?
Five. No. Wait. No. 10.
No, it's actually 8. But that was a good job. You did get 2 points there. So not overwhelming and gives the opportunity for somebody else to win. Go ahead, give us a call.
How does Kansas have more wins than Florida State? They've been around longer. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, that was a bit of a trick question. I laid that one in there. I thought that'd be kind of fun. Give us a call, 402-464-5685 for your chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. All you need is 2 points. It's actually, so that can't be too difficult. Strick didn't make it too difficult on you.
COVID win, baby. We going COVID win today.
If nobody calls, Strickland wins. He gets the chicken. No, he doesn't get the chicken, but he does win. So I think we have the phone lines lighting up now. We'll see.
Go take a COVID test and go home. You sick.
Last week our phone lines didn't work the best, so hopefully that's not what's going on again. I think it might be what's happening. We have people calling in.
It's too cold, Nebraska. You get sick.
It's too cold. Something happened with our phone lines. We'll see if Ethan can get this call on. We'll see if it works. He's had to hang up on the last several, so I don't know. But as far as okay, here comes the name. I was going to get into the blue blood discussion, but we do have a contestant, and it is Hayden. Hayden, how are you doing today?
Good.
Are you ready? Have you studied up on your all-time win ranks there in the college football?
I hope so. I'm ready.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. Who has more all-time wins, Colorado or Michigan State?
Colorado.
It's actually Michigan State. Penn State or Tennessee?
Penn State.
That's right. Ohio State or Oklahoma?
Oklahoma.
It's actually Ohio State. Clemson or Florida?
Florida.
It's actually Clemson. How many teams have more than 800 wins?
12.
Moneyball on the spot. 12.
No!
That was a legendary shot there at the end. So you do win that one, Hayden. Thanks for
congratulations, Hayden.
You earned a boom shakalaka, and even a shout out from
he hit the money ball.
Hell yeah! Yes, he did.
I said, give me a hell yeah.
12 is correct. Man, those money balls are supposed to be hard. He knew where to go right there. Congratulations to Hayden on his victory. Are you still there, Hayden? Oh, there he goes. All right. But that was one of the most epic shots we've had so far in the short time period of this game show. I like it though. That's a little bit made me right for the buzzer. I thought you had the victory.
You know, that's like it is in March Madness, right? You know it's going to it just never it's going to happen. Everybody's like, yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. I got March Madness before March.
Yeah, you kind of had your emotions rolling there. You thought you had the win going into the money ball, but sometimes great shots happen. Sometimes, Strick, you have good defense. It's just better offense. So.
Sometimes that's how it be.
That's how it is.
It.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, though, we will have Bruce Chubbuck join us in the next hour at around 5:20, 5:25. We also are going to dive into Erik Chinander getting a well-deserved raise. If it does turn around, how much do you think that Chinander will play into that? And how much do you think Frost's CEO role will play into that? Also hitting the hardwood with Strick, we'll talk about the Clippers, of course, coached by former Husker Teron Lou, are they going to be a contender by the time the playoffs roll around? They haven't been so far, and I'm starting to get worried that they're kind of like the old Clippers, the Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin, always flashy, just never anything sustainable in the postseason. We'll get to all that in the next hour here on the Block with Strick and Buck.
This is Dan Friedman. In recent years, over 1/3 of all Nebraska traffic crashes have been caused by drivers aged 15 to 19. If you're a teen driver, don't become another statistic. Keep your eyes on the road. And if you're a parent, please remember that safe driving habits start with you. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices. For almost 60 years, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney, Nebraska, February 2nd and 3rd. Landmark Sprayer Clinic offers expansive equipment and technology training on different models of John Deere and Hagie sprayers. Learn about the newest technology, machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and more. We'll be offering free dicamba certification. Join us February 2nd and 3rd in Kearney. RSVP by calling your local Landmark location or at landmarkimp.com/events.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your NTV First Alert weather forecast tonight, partly cloudy, windy, and cold. Lows of -1. Another cold day for Thursday. Sunshine, a high of 17. Lows tomorrow night, 4 above. I'm NTV Chief Forecaster Ken Fountain for 93.7 The Ticket.
You know you want that smoky, tangy, sweet, and spicy sauced and tossed Wingstop. But you brought a haul of groceries home from the store. It's cool. No one expects you to shop and cook in the same day. So let the flavor experts at Wingstop hook you up with mouth-watering wings, crispy tenders and thighs, fries and sides delivered to your door. You can always cook tomorrow. That's why the fridge was invented. Get it delivered at wingstop.com.
Order online now from the new Wingstop located at 5001 O Street. You spend more time in your garage than outdoors in the wintertime. Isn't it time to get it organized? Call Travis at Classic Garage Solutions for his variety of organization packages. Turn your garage from a cluttered mess to a clean, organized space that'll be the envy of the neighborhood and something you can be proud of. You don't need to bring the same clutter from last year into the new year. Travis has storage options for cabinets, monkey bar shelving, or slat wall, and more. Call Classic Garage Solutions today at 402-730-1638.
Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from the program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 o'clock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Working at Continental of Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they're hiring for production operators at $21.72 an hour and other select jobs starting at $23.42 an hour, with wages growing up to $27.55 an hour. Continental also has salary jobs available with great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljob.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatch mac burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant. You can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets.
Southeast Community College has learning centers in Falls City, Hebron, Nebraska City, Plattsmouth, Wahoo, and York so that you can take credit and non-credit classes at a center nearby without having to travel an hour or more to campus. By taking online classes and those at a learning center, you can earn your degree from SCC where and when it's convenient for you, all at a cost that won't stand in the way of your education. Learn more about SCC's learning centers at southeast.edu/learning centers. SCC, your path to possible.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three. You're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and Ortega connoisseur, Jake Wackelman.
I like Ortega and I like pepper.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Hold up.
Yay, yay. We're back on the block. I'm E. Strick, and that is my partner, Bach. That rhyme flowed like that, and we're here to say it again. We're going to talk about Eric Chinander and that money in that pen. Yeah, we're going to talk about Eric Chinander today. You know, he got a well-deserved raise. They touched him up a little bit, touched him up a good, 50 grand or so bonus. So coming into the season, he's looking to be the second highest paid assistant on the staff. The question, though, becomes, does Nebraska, if they do turn it around, text us at the Starter Heyman text line at 402-464-5685. If you have an answer to this question, do you think that if they get it turned around, are you convinced that it's due to CEO Frost's capabilities, or is it just because he deserves it? We want to hear from you on the Starter Heyman text line at 402-464-5685. Also, call in, talk to us on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. How about that? So, What's your thoughts about that particular question? We want to hear from you, Bach. How do you feel about Chinander's raise? And do you think if he gets it, personally, I think Chinander did a wonderful job, with the D. I think they played well enough to give opportunities to win. So I think it's deserved. And at this point, let's see what the question is. Is it because of Frost, or would it be because he just deserved it? What you think?
Yeah, I've been calling for it all offseason, which isn't very long, but the raise for Eric Chinander, and I'm really good at calling for, telling other people how to spend their money, so I'll continue to do that. But no, I think he absolutely deserved it. Maybe some would say that they would have liked to see him bumped higher. I saw even a complaint on Twitter that he isn't making as much as Mark Whipple, but I think that's deserved. Mark Whipple is coming over with coming off one of the top years in college football as far as an offensive coordinator goes. While we like what Chinander did, and he certainly had his moments here at Nebraska. Certainly think about that second half against Michigan State, containing Oklahoma and Ohio State's offense to the way that they did. A lot of good moments here for that defense. They still were 3-9. Now that wasn't a 3-9 defense, but he's not like the hottest name in college football right now. He's just had a pretty good year here at Nebraska. So I think he deserved the raise. I think the one thing that I would say is that his defense pretty much bailed Scott Frost out and gave him a fifth year. I mean, if you didn't have that stout of a defense, if maybe you had the defense that Chinander had his first few years here in Lincoln, you might not be seeing this fifth year. So that's kind of where I kind of get into that question of just kind of wondering, because it's all very strange, right? I mean, there's no perfect move after 3-9 that's going to make everybody happy, but it's very strange that, I mean, it's a good possibility that if this does get fixed, then maybe Whipple is part of the reason why. Chinander continuing along that side, right? And so some of those moves would be credited to CEO Frost for finding those guys, hiring those guys, and putting them in that position. I just don't know if I would be ready to say that Frost is the reason that they made the big jump. And ultimately, that's what you want to believe in for program stability moving forward, because, if coordinators do well, eventually they get picked off by somebody else, or maybe even for a head coaching job. But I guess that's maybe for a more of a long-term discussion, but it is just kind of an interesting way to look at the season. Is I don't know. It'll be fascinating to pick apart all the new pieces and the old pieces like Eric Chinander and try to figure out which part is integral into building this program back to where we want it to be, or at least back to 6-7 wins and getting back to a bowl game.
Well, I think it's worth noting that we understand what it is to be a CEO, right? What are the actual duties of a CEO? I think the CEO is responsible for providing strategic firing, hiring, and paying of staff, operational leadership of the company, as well as closely coordinating and working with a board of directors or athletic director, senior leadership, and senior leadership, which could be considered in this instance the staff rooms, the running back, the wide receiver, coordinators, all of that, right? Coordinating all of that. And then if he delegates well, I think one of those things, it should be some parts of it accredited to him. I find it very interesting too that he has a willingness to withdraw from play calling, right? Because he's, if your focus is mostly on that aspect of it, other aspects of your team or your staff or your organization could falter a little bit, right? So if you totally have your eyes on all pieces of that and not have to siphon off your focus a little bit, it gives you a little opportunity to really hone in on areas of weakness, really tie in on areas that need to get better, not rely solely on what is actually going. You're able to tap in, jump in, peek in and see what's going on in all aspects of it. You try to do that, but just is not enough time in a day when you're so focused on one area and aspect of whether it be coaching the quarterbacks or and then to do it from the field. I hope that Whipple would go up top because it's such a different perspective. I mean, I watched the game. When I went to the Mavericks game, there's such a different perspective from watching it on court and seeing all of that up close and then having to shift around from referees and all of that and getting that full perspective on what they're doing, what type of movements they're having, what type of shifting they're doing. Are they dropping out of cover threes into two? Are they zone blitzing? And you really can see all of those things from up top and then start to formulate adjustments and changes. So I hope that Whipple would go up top and because calling from the field it can be done, but you most likely are going to have a plan. You're going to stick to a plan. And I think sometimes that's where it faltered.
Yeah, that'll be really fascinating. And I'm with you. I mean, I'd love to see the offensive coordinator in the booth, kind of Scott Frost on the field. If there truly are pairing that, two bright offensive minds, I think two different levels.
Two perspectives.
Yeah. But I mean, you also have to wonder because some of these guys, they kind of like the approach that Whipple has had. Some of the recruits that we've heard some from so far. So maybe they'd like him on the field. I don't think I've ever seen a head coach up in the booth.
That would be odd, but okay.
But, hey, we're
a different time
right at this point. So it is interesting to see how they approach that. And I want to see, I mean, I think that sometimes we can, kind of bury Frost, and some of it's deserved, right? I mean, some of it they never were the most sound team. Penalties kind of killed them from time to time. Turnovers, bad, offensive line play certainly, but those type of penalties, pre-snap penalties, they never looked too cleaned up. Special teams was a mess. That's all like the details. The details was not there, and so hopefully. The attention to the detail can be added when he can step away from the offense and maybe developing his quarterback or whatever was taking a majority of that focus. So I think that that sometimes we bury them in that because sometimes the football just looks so bad. But at the same time, you got to give them credit for coaching up against Ryan Day and Lincoln Riley and those type of names like they did last year. And despite having an awful offensive line, despite burying themselves with penalties and mistakes made, mistake-prone football, they were able to orchestrate themselves into those games and to play those games closely. So it is easy just to say 3-9, but you need some context in that is that they were able to coach among some of the best young, bright names in college football last year and play them really close, despite probably, especially against Oklahoma and in Ohio State, having a bit of a talent deficit there.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, my question to you would be, is this, where do you think the strengths are going to lie with this particular Shenander defense, and where do you think probably some of those weaknesses are going to, either or what's going to require some coaching or really training up or putting an eye on some people that they've been looking at to fill some of those voids? Where do you see that being the help for Shenander maintaining some of the excellence that he had on last year?
I think you start right up the middle. I think your two stalwarts there, and Luke Reimer and Nick Henrich are the guys that you can lean on. Two of the best tacklers in the Big Ten last year. I believe they both, the two top leading tacklers for your team. I think that those are the guys. I think there should also be a bit of a fear and maybe a little bit of an expectation, if you're honest, that this defense does fall off a bit. I mean, you're losing a lot there from the defensive line. JoJo Domann, I mean, you don't, he was a second-team All-American. I mean,
that was what I was going to ask you also about that replacement. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 guys in the secondary. It's just a lot. So we've kind of seen this movement for Shenander in the team rankings and everything through the first 3 years to building and getting better. But sometimes there's just that special senior class, or, in this case, super senior class, and then some juniors. I mean, they just all came together and it worked well. And that's what kind of makes it interesting. Some of the comments that we talked about earlier from Casey Thompson, expecting to pass the ball a little bit more. I don't ideally want that to happen. All right. I would like to be, kind of stay within 25, 30 passes a game and keep the run game going, because I think that's a better recipe in the Big Ten. But if the defense isn't at the level where it was last year, you're going to have a few games where you're going to have to sling it 40, 45, 50 times a game, perhaps. And at least with Whipple at the helm, they probably wouldn't be hesitant to do that. And so, it's going to be a collaboration of a lot of these things. I just don't know if you're going to be able to replace what you had defensively, what you had this past year. And it helped them stay in games. It kind of carried them throughout a majority of the season. That's why it's vital for this offense to get going and cash in on those opportunities where they were moving the ball all the time, but you didn't have a field goal kicker and they couldn't get in the end zone. So many points left on the field. You're going to need to capitalize on a lot more of those points, I believe, this year, because I think the Blackshirt defense, at least early in the season, I would expect to take a step back.
Yeah, and this is I have a two-part question as far as this is concerned. What type of depth do you foresee for them up front? Any additions that could, maybe have a stellar breakout season? And then what do you see as far as this particular defense being able to turn over? Because I think that's where Iowa found its success. They had the ability to turn people over. Do you think that this defense, one, has the what type of depth and would you see on the up front? And then two, do they have any creators, somebody to turn the ball over, somebody on the rush in that can really make noise and create havoc as they've had in the past? Or is it going to rely heavily do you feel they're going to be a speed defense or a physical defense? Just some of your thoughts on those typical questions.
Yeah, and I think that it's kind of weird, because at the beginning of this tenure, it was kind of the idea was we're going to be turnover prone defense. We're gonna create turnovers. We might give up more yards. Of course, that was going back to the Frost offense, where the pace of play was going to be so much, so the defense was going to be out there more on the field. Then we're going to give up more yards, and we were told to look at yards per play rather than yards per game. But it just has not been the case. They don't create a whole lot of turnovers, and sometimes they have opportunities. You see them kind of bouncing off their hands last year. Maybe I mean. Sometimes it can just take one guy, a new guy entered into that defensive backfield equation, maybe gets 6 picks, and all of a sudden your defense, that's just a strength of his, and your defense all of a sudden it now can create those turnovers. I don't necessarily foresee it for what they've had, just because what they have returning hasn't created a whole lot of turnovers. I think it's more of, kind of
bend don't break.
Yeah, bend don't break, or kind of just that stalwart defense. I don't like Georgia's defense this last year, as good as it was, didn't create a whole lot of turnovers. They didn't really sack you all that much. They just didn't let you get
the field
down too much. Yeah, they shut up. Nebraska's obviously not going to be Georgia's defense, but I think that's probably the hope again, at least as it is now, because you don't see a ball hawking player in the secondary. You don't have Caleb Tanner. It looks solid, and you bring them back and you have some of those edge rushers, but they're not guys that you necessarily expect to get 7 sacks and some strip fumbles and all that. So I think they're just going to have to try to get off the field, hopefully increase those turnovers. I mean, while we sit around and worry about the defense and the losses, Eric Shenander is putting in work. I mean, he's looking for a way for them to get better, putting in different schemes, maybe to get more turnovers. But just from the outside, I think they take a step back. I don't think they necessarily, kind of like that basketball team, I don't think they necessarily have a strength to rely on going into the year. I like you were asking about the depth up front. I like their starting lineup up front. I like Jordan Robinson. I like, Jordan Riley, Ty Robinson, and Casey Rogers. I think that could be a solid, start to your 3-man front there. But, past that, there's not a whole lot that's proven. There's recruits, there's guys that you hope that have developed a little bit in the program, but not proven. And that's why I think that they're still going to be looking after. I expect them still to pick up another defensive lineman in the portal. They were going after Nesta Jade Silvera, but he committed to Arizona State today. But I still expect them to go after another guy just to bolster that front line. I think they probably believe in what they have behind it. It's not a huge concern, but it's just not what it was last year, where you had DeAndre Thomas and Ben Stilley and Damian Daniels, along with the guys that we mentioned, to really have an incredible 2-deep. And again, these are all reasons I think the defense takes a little bit of a step backward, and the offense needs to step up and cash in on their scoring opportunities.
Yeah, great discussion, great points. We look forward to seeing what Shenander is going to put together, and hopefully that bonus will pay off in that upgrade. Coming back after this, here on the block, we're going to have Bruce Chubbuck, former Nebraska Husker and now assistant coach at South High for the Packers. We'll have him when we come back after the break. Thanks for joining us on the block.
You spend more time in your garage than outdoors in the wintertime. Isn't it time to get it organized? Call Travis at Classic Garage Solutions for his variety of organization packages. Turn your garage from a cluttered mess to a clean, organized space that'll be the envy of the neighborhood and something you can be proud of. You don't need to bring the same clutter from last year into the new year. Travis has storage options for cabinets, monkey bar shelving, or slat wall, and more. Call Classic Garage Solutions today at 402-730-1638.
Did you know your air ducts can hold up to 17 pounds of dirt, dust, pet dander, and so much more? John Henry's is here to help make the air you breathe cleaner with a duct cleaning. If you've never had your ducts cleaned, now is the best time, especially if you have pets, someone in the home with allergies or asthma, or you've ever done a renovation. Find out more at jhlincoln.com or give John Henry's a call or text today.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing. Heating and air.
What are you doing, Sip?
I thought the chickens could use some more light in their lives.
So you're building what exactly?
It's a motion-censored switchboard. Duh.
Are you sure you know what you're doing?
Of course. Ow! God! Ow!
Seems like a job for a professional.
Just one more wire. Yep, there you go, right there.
Don't be like Sip. Call Joe at Ambition Electric for any of your electric needs at 402-217-3415.
You know you want that smoky, tangy, sweet, and spicy sauced and tossed Wingstop, but you just brought a haul of groceries home from the store. It's cool. No one expects you to shop and cook in the same day. So let the flavor experts at Wingstop hook you up with mouth-watering wings, crispy tenders and thighs, fries and sides delivered to your door. You can always cook tomorrow. That's why the fridge was invented. Get it delivered at wingstop.com.
Order online now from the new Wingstop located at 5001 O Street.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard. Aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your NTV First Alert weather forecast tonight, partly cloudy, windy, and cold. Lows of -1. Another cold day for Thursday. Sunshine, a high of 17. Lows tomorrow night, 4 above. I'm NTV Chief Forecaster Ken Fountain for 93.7 The Ticket.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they're hiring for production operators at $21.72 an hour and other select jobs starting at $23.42 an hour, with wages growing up to $27.55 an hour. Continental also has salary jobs available with great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from the program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 o'clock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Yay. Yo, so it could have been Bruce did have practice. He did say that he would be able to make it. That's what happens sometimes if you're in a losing streak or something's going on. It could be very possible that he got held up. We're going to try to call him and reach out. Oh, okay. Hey, Bruce Chubbuck. Yeah, what's going on, my guy? Can you hear us?
Looks like we're still having problems with technology maybe there.
Can you hear us, Bruce? Yeah.
Yeah,
we can't hear Bruce. Bruce, we're gonna send you the number to call. We can't hear you. Are you can you hear us?
I don't think he can hear us.
He can't hear us. So we're gonna give you the number to call in. Send Bruce. I'm gonna put the number for Bruce in the text thread.
Okay.
And give him a call. We're gonna tap him in that way.
Yeah, technology always a factor here at times, but we'll have Bruce Chubbuck here with us in just a second as we can see him. We just can't hear from him quite yet. I'll get that number over to Big Sky and I'll be right back. Okay, Strick?
Yeah. So in turn, I'll just give a little bit of information about Bruce before he comes on. Some of that, Bruce was my former teammate there at Nebraska. I was a sophomore when Bruce Chubbuck was there with me. Well, actually, he was a sophomore. And I was a freshman when I came in. He was a junior. So at that point, we got an opportunity to play together, to grow together. Bruce was a phenomenal, hard-nosed, passionate, loved and bled Husker Red. He was just recently, he was a West Holt, Axton West Holt star there. He's 8th in scoring all time with over 2,300 points for the state of Nebraska. Bruce also was a 2-time Super State selection. Bruce was the Nebraska Gatorade Player of the Year in 1989. He was a 2-time state placer in the high jump as well, which is phenomenal at 6'7" to be able to do that. A 4-year letterman at the University of Nebraska. He played professionally for 8 years overseas, also played for the former CBA Omaha Racers. He won a state championship both as a player at West Holt and also as an assistant coach with his father there at South High in 2016 and 2019 for the South High Packers. So were we able to get him?
Yeah, he should be there.
Bruce, you there?
Yes. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just gave a a super breakdown on your historic rise out of Atkinson West Hall. A little history also. Me and Bruce, back in the day, you used to go to the university and you take your team. We had what they call team camp. So we would take our little Bellevue West team down there, and we weren't very big. We didn't have the size, but Stricky had to, at times, whenever I could, had to guard poor Bruce Chubbuck. That try to be physical as I could. He was so doggone strong and big as a high school player. And but we happened to still pull that out, man. We happened to get a win. And it was because I went at your boy, what's his name, Pacheco, or what was his name?
Peacock. Chris
Peacock. Yeah, I had to get at Peacock. I had to slow him down a little bit. I couldn't let Bruce Chubbuck get the ball all the time in the post and just dominate us like that. So we was able to win the little tournament down there in high school. So that was my first time. That was the first time I got an opportunity to look at Bruce Chubbuck in the eyes. He was a phenomenal player for us as a Husker. He reminds me so much of what Derek Walker does for us at the Huskers right now, but Bruce would compete. I mean, one of the greatest feats, Bruce, I saw of you is in the Big 8 tournament, and actually through the whole season, but in the Big 8 tournament where you took the challenge against Big Country Reeves, and you stared him in the eye and you said, you know what? It's just going to be a long night for you, big fella. I mean, you're going to be able to try to do what you can do, but we're going to compete. I'm going to battle you. And we ended up getting the victory, winning our first championship there. So how's things going right now for you, man?
Good, real good. Team South High has a little ways to go. It's kind of a work in progress, and hopefully we can get where we want to get by the end of the season. But you know how it is. It's steps in the right direction. Usually, especially with the team that's still not that experienced, you don't start out the year kind of where you're going to finish it. It's a gradual growing process, and we've had some growing pains, and I'm hoping that we can iron that out and finish up January good and have an even better February.
So tell us, Bruce, what are your thoughts on this year's Huskers team? You've had a chance to be very close. You've watched even from afar. You've watched internally, externally, the program over the years. What do you think about the talent level on this particular team? What do you think are some of their issues that they're experiencing right now? And do you think they can get it turned around?
Well, I got to say, I've never doubted Fred Hoiberg. I think he's got ability enough to coach, and his staff has got ability enough to coach to get them where they need to be. What I see, and maybe you agree, maybe not, but what I see is that occasionally we have a few guys that I think defense is optional, and it's not. If you want to win in the Big Ten, defense is not an option. Everybody must play defense. The other thing that I see that I think, sometimes we lack is that lacking the knowledge of the game management, time score. Sometimes the shot is not necessarily a bad shot, but it's not the shot that you need at that moment. If you haven't scored in 4 minutes, maybe you don't want to take the first shot after you cross half court with no passes. I mean, that's just, that's the coach in me coming out. As a player, I'd have said, yeah, coach, I was open. But as a coach, you go, no, that's not what we want right now. And sometimes I don't see that, we're coming to the right decision, just not making good in-game decisions at times. And the coaches can talk it. But until the players actually buy in, and they know that that's what it's going to take to be able to win the game, it's hard to get things changed.
Do you think that they just maybe, it's kind of been said before, because now they're 0-8 in Big Ten play. Do they just need to taste victory to kind of know how to get there? Is there something in that? As like you said, you've moved on to the coaching level. You remember as a player, probably having teams struggled before. Is there something about learning how to win, and then once you cross that barrier, you might be able to string a few together?
Oh yeah, I definitely think that basketball games and basketball seasons are a lot about momentum. I heard Fred, I can't remember where it was at the other day, but he said, you know, you hate to make excuses, but I really feel like if we could have won that game on the road against North Carolina State, we build a little confidence off of that, and maybe we win not all of the games, but at least we win some of the games that we've been close and just haven't been able to finish the deal in. And I agree. There's probably some merit to that. You know, the games that have not been close, I don't know that those would have come out that much different the way that they were played. Basketball is a weird game, though, and Strick knows this because he played it at the highest level. But the higher level you play, I remember a game in the CBA where we went up to Sioux Falls and got rocked by, I think it was literally 39 points. Came back to Omaha like 3 nights later and beat them by 17. And so, you know, you get a little bit of that weirdness that the game has where, you know, team can close their eyes and throw it behind their back and it's going to go in one night, and the next night they come out and they're not going to hit anything. You know, it's just, and some of it is, you know, what are you doing defensively to stop them? But some nights, especially the higher level you go, you're guarding guys, you're in their face and they're just knocking them down because, you know, there are a lot of nights where good offense beats good defense.
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. Once again, man, congratulations on your 2021 Hall of Fame. You and your father went in the same year. I think that's phenomenal. What were your thoughts about that, man? How did you feel about, you know, getting inducted, and the time and the effort and all of the passion that you played with as a player was being recognized by the state of Nebraska? How did you feel about that?
It was very cool. It was very cool going in with my dad too. I think it's only happened 1 or 2 other times. I know Scott Frost went in with his dad, and I want to say, I can't remember if Bill Olson and Greg Olson went in. They're both in. I don't know if they went in at the same time, but they're both in. I think that's the only other father-son combination that's ever been in. So, you know, obviously heck of an honor. And, you know, I've often wondered if I didn't run track, would I have gotten in at all? Because there are a lot of guys who are good basketball players that aren't in, you know, and may not get in. And so, you know, I ran track. I actually medaled 3 years. I got tied for third my freshman year, got second my sophomore and junior year, dislocated my shoulder my senior year and couldn't jump. So I long jumped and got second in that, but the kid who beat me was not eligible. So technically I'm the gold medal. I'm the gold medal recipient without a gold medal.
That's awesome.
But that's fair because I didn't beat the kid. He beat me. He just wasn't eligible by the rules. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, go ahead, Bach. I have one more question after that.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to ask real quick because I know that you coach at the high school level, and it's been kind of a talk and maybe more momentum toward getting the shot clock at the high school level in Nebraska. Is that something that you think affects the game as it is now, that there is no shot clock, or have most players and teams and schools just kind of adjusted to what modern basketball is and tried to play as if there were kind of one anyway?
I think it depends. I think it's more game to game basis. We played with it in the Metro tournament against Burke, and I think the shot clock went off one time the entire game. So, and even then, I think it was Burke that had it expire on them, and they were about to get a shot anyway. They were just about a second too late, and it was within the flow of the offense. It wasn't a deal where they were going to shoot it up just to avoid the shot clock running out. They actually were coming. So I think people make a big deal out of it, but I don't think most of the games it probably matters that much. But you do have some teams who get very deliberate with their game plan because they know that that's what they have to do to compete. And at the end of the day, you know, you're trying to win games. If you have to slow down the game to win the game, you're going to do what you have to do. So I wouldn't mind seeing it come in because I think it would eliminate some of those situations. You can't really use that as a tactic. You have to come up with something else. But, I think it affects 90% of the games? I don't. I think that a 30-second shot clock, most teams are shooting within 30 anyway. But there are those games once in a while that, a team's going to run a minute and 20 seconds off the clock before they squeeze a shot. Nobody really loves to see those, but it is what it is. Like I said, if that's the only chance you think you have to win a game, you're going to do what you have to do.
Yeah, one last question before we let you go. We know it's been a long day for you, and we thank you for taking your time on joining us on the block with Strick and Bach. But there's a player there at Nebraska that has some similar qualities to you, and that he definitely has some heart. He's willing to battle. He will attack. He's shooting dang near 70% from the field. So my question to you, and you did kind of mention it in the past, where we talked about the Pennsylvania game and where we, like Nebraska, were tossing up threes. We were 3 for 20, but yet we felt like we needed to continue to shoot it. And when they were a very small team, we didn't take advantage of that. I think in this team, Derek Walker is an undersized, big man and center, that he's playing a position out of position. And how do you think they could use him better? And also, do you think that they're doing a disservice by not using him more?
Ooh, good question. I think watching the game against Indiana the other night, I thought that the offense actually looked better when they involved both posts more. I thought Andre came in and did a nice job too. And I know was the game before that. Who was the game before that? I was listening to Kent, and I was listening to the radio broadcast. I was on my way to get pizza, and was listening to it, and they said that Andre had not started out too well, and that's why he wasn't playing more. But I thought
it was Purdue. It was Purdue, and they had big boys on Purdue.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and granted, those two are two of the best big guys in the entire country, not just the conference. But I mean, to me, the offense looks better when the bigs are getting a touch, because we want to be a perimeter shooting team. Well, how do you get more open perimeter shots? By taking the ball inside and establishing your big guys as a threat. If the big guys, if they have to send a second guy to double team the big guy, what happens? The perimeter guy all of a sudden has an open shot instead of one he's forcing over a guy when he's not very open. And I just think, Walker, I've liked what I've seen out of him. He does a nice job of taking it up strong inside. I think he's a little bit, at least he seems like he's a little bigger than I was when I played. He's taller for sure, but I think he might be a little bit more. Yeah, he might be put together a little bit better than I was too. I don't know. But no, I see some similarities. I actually made that comment to somebody that I thought, he reminded me of myself a little bit. And, that's, a good, strong inside guy that's going to do what nobody else wants to do. And I think, for him, yeah, he's getting stuck guarding bigs, but he's battling, when they're not coming down and double teaming when he's guarding Edey the other night. I'm like, oh boy, I don't know about that one though. That'd be like you guys leaving me out to dry when I'm trying to guard big country. I had some help,
Yeah.
That would have been a tough ask to say, hey Bruce, you're 6'7", he's 7 feet, 300 pounds, but go ahead, you're gonna match up one-on-one with him, and we're not even gonna drop down and help once in a while. Just see what you can do. All right. Yeah, it's tough.
Facts. He's Bruce Chubbuck, and thanks you, Bruce, for joining us on the block again, man. Congratulations for your 2021 Hall of Fame inductee. Also, the wonderful things that you're doing with them young men up there at South High. We appreciate your time. We hope that you'll come back and join us again sometime in the near future.
You bet. I appreciate it. Thanks, Strick. Thanks.
All right.
Good night, guys.
All right. On the block, we'll come back right after this. We're going to hit the hardwood with Strick right after this on the block with Strick and Bach.
breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatch mac burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant. You can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com. 93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your NTV First Alert weather forecast tonight, partly cloudy, windy, and cold. Lows of -1. Another cold day for Thursday. Sunshine, a high of 17. Lows tomorrow night, 4 above. I'm NTV Chief Forecaster Ken Fountain for 93.7 The Ticket.
Did you know your air ducts can hold up to 17 pounds of dirt, dust, pet dander, and so much more? John Henry's is here to help make the air you breathe cleaner with a duct cleaning. If you've never had your ducts cleaned, now is the best time, especially if you have pets, someone in the home with allergies or asthma, or you've ever done a renovation. Find out more at jhlincoln.com or give John Henry's a call or text today.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
Working at Continental of Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they're hiring for production operators at $21.72 an hour and other select jobs starting at $23.42 an hour, with wages growing up to $27.55 an hour. Continental also has salary jobs available with great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from the program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 o'clock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Old School with DP and J.
Always try to tell athletes, be where your cleats are. Be in the moment, play by play, possession by possession. That's what Nebraska's women's team does so well. That's why nothing changes. It doesn't matter who's in the game. With the men, that's if they took a little bit of more of that mentality, you would see it. And they've shown games that they've done it. I've seen you do it against, other teams and kind of give the game away. You've seen it on the NC State, play in the moment, continue to play, but then you see the complete opposite.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Security First Bank. We're the bank, and we make your mortgage more manageable with flexible terms, trusted advice, and competitive rates. When you work with us, we'll know your name, but we'll also get to know your home dreams too. Security First Bank of Lincoln. Voted best small bank in Nebraska by Newsweek magazine. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. NMLS number 505011.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is On the Block with Strick and Bach, wrapping things up here on a Wednesday. And it is time for Hitting the Hardwood with Strick as we break down some NBA action with the former NBA baller. Before we do that, I did want to announce a few things that I saw today before the end of the show. Stetson Bennett returning as a quarterback for Georgia. So I thought that was a little bit surprising. Of course, maybe not an NFL future for him, but seemed like the perfect way for him to go out was to win that championship. But I guess he's got a year of eligibility left, so he's taking it. Meanwhile, JT Daniels, their backup quarterback, who Stetson Bennett took that job from, is off to the transfer portal, along with wide receiver Jermaine Burton, for what it's worth. If you watch those Georgia playoff games, you might remember those guys. But kind of surprising and kind of cool. Stetson Bennett's story, probably the best part of Georgia winning, unless you're a Georgia fan, longtime Georgia sufferer. The 40 years wait was a story of its own. But Stetson Bennett, the former walk-on, turned national championship quarterback, going for round 2 at Georgia. Does that do anything for you? Get you more excited about next college football season, Strick?
I think they're just going to be the same. I mean, when you look at it, who's going to bang with them? You know, it's going to be Alabama. You know, who's going to step up? I don't see it from LSU. Definitely Florida's a ways away. Maybe Ole Miss, if they can land a really good quarterback, they may be able to just kind of, you know, be an upset type of team. Don't see it out of Arkansas. Definitely not Missouri. I just don't see it. It just looks like it's going to be a topsy-turvy, you know, Alabama, Georgia look again. I don't see anybody out there. Tennessee's not there. Auburn maybe, but they're missing the quarterback. They're trying to figure it out up there. I just don't see it. It looks like it's going to be a remake of the Matrix. Basically, it looks like it's going to be a black cat just walking and shaking, and it's going to be a deja vu moment.
Yeah, Georgia does have a full guy. Nolan Smith returning. They've got a few guys returning to try to go for number 2, and that was kind of cool. You remember the Huskers obviously doing that back after the '94 win, coming back for '95. Some of those guys sticking around obviously for '97. Just kind of a cool thing. Obviously, we wish we were in that position, but Stetson Bennett still, to me, even though he's won the national championship, some people just never get my respect quite enough. Right? I think that Georgia could have a better quarterback in place. But they've got a national title winning quarterback in place. So that's a pretty tough spot to pass. That's why JT Daniels is off and running. Also, I wanted to mention this Ticket Weeknights, always on fire here at the Ticket. Teammates is going to do their weekly show here every Wednesday following our show. And I'm a big fan of Teammates, obviously started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and helping mentoring kids across the state. So very cool stuff. We'll hear about that coming up in the next hour. And then riffing with Raph. With Raph and AD is a very good Ticket Weeknight show that's got plenty of steam. Also, I see tomorrow the captain has Amon Green on the show. So lots of good stuff coming here at the Ticket. Want to encourage you to stick around. But for now, it is time for Hitting the Hardwood with Strick, where we break down an NBA storyline. One storyline that I'm interested to, and we jump around from team to team, try to get everybody's team involved. I don't think we've hit the Clippers yet, and the Clippers are not off to the greatest start. Obviously, if you are an NBA fan and with Husker connections, you cheer for Tyronn Lue, at least I do, and hope that he does well. Seems to get himself in a pickle in those playoff series and then get out of it usually by Game 7. But the Clippers this year, they're hovering around 500. They haven't had Kawhi Leonard all year, still recovering from injury, so that's probably a big reason why. Now they're kind of holding Paul George down for a bit as he's recovering from injury too. They're going to elongate his waiting period there. And so maybe it's no surprise that they're 500. It's just kind of getting into that, and maybe it is that playoff thing where they kind of get into the problem of being down, 3 games to 1 or whatever it is several times. They're just hard to trust long term, and ultimately I just hope, because I'm a Tyronn Lue fan, because I want to see the success there. You remember that Kawhi Leonard after that championship in Toronto, there was a lot of talk about him teaming up with LeBron or kind of finding these other stars to team up with. And he ultimately went to the Clippers. So I think that it's easy to cheer for him, to kind of want to do it on his own. Of course, Paul George entered the fray as well. I'm just starting to worry that maybe there's something wrong with that Clippers organization, because obviously they had that long run with one of the best rosters in the league year after year, with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, and never quite got to the finals. Do you see something maybe happening with this pairing with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard?
Well, the problem becomes, one, Kawhi Leonard's going to be out with the knee injury for a substantial amount of time. There are two players in the NBA right now that when it comes to trying to win a series or trying to get it done to move on or go to the next level, there are two players in the NBA that I monitor and watch, and I say, if they're on that team, I venture to say that they're probably going to lose a big game series, and that is Paul George and that is Chris Paul. It just seems to me like if those two are involved, I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to say Illuminati confirmed. I'm not going to say all of that, but I'm just going to say it just don't look good. And so without Paul George, I mean, it gives one of the things it does, it gives guys like Amir Coffey just opportunity. This gentleman, Amir Coffey, is the primary beneficiary, who is a career high 39% 3-point shooter. This man now has stepped up his game. He's taken the opportunities, now shooting since George has been out 43%. And, he's only turning the ball over at, 0.5 turnovers in 29 minutes per game. I think that's helping them to be better. They're going to need stuff like that, to be able to happen with this team. It's a hodgepodge of, kind of, moderate, mediocre, maybe type players. Eric Bledsoe was tossed around like a bouncing ball on the court for multiple teams where he didn't find his way and then got his way back to the Clippers. He's only averaging about 10 points a game. He's going to need to step up. When you lose 24 points and what Kawhi Leonard brings, somebody's got to fill that void. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Nick Batum? I doubt it. Maybe Isaiah Hartenstein is playing solid, great shooter. Maybe they get in more touches, shooting 67% and 66 from three. Serge Ibaka his time has lapsed. They've got young players in Brandon Boston. Luke Kennard is coming off of injury. He's averaging about almost 12 points a game. Terrence Mann, solid guard. But who is going to be that person? I don't see it. I don't know. Marcus Morris is there, just a solid backup. But there's really nobody on that team that I look to and I say it makes me pause and say they've got something that is going to make me believe that they're going to be able to sustain. I think they're at 500 team right now. They're hovering around that 8-9 spot. I think they'll get into the play-in game, but I just don't think they have enough to be able to get it done at the end of the day.
Yeah, it'll be very exciting to see, especially if Kawhi is able to return this season. How much they can improve, because like you said, they've got a lot of nice role players, but none of those guys that really have potential to step up into those roles. So without Paul George, it's kind of Reggie Jackson, which is great. Again, like a great third best player on your team, but not somebody that you want to lead your franchise. So
right. Well, when you look at it too, Bach, I mean, they're 26th in scoring at 105 points a game. They're 25th in rebounds, so they don't really do that well. They're 18th in assists. They move the ball moderately. And then, their offensive points per game is 10th. So they're losing 24 points a game. Will they stay there at that? I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see. But here's the crazy thing about it. They're about to hit an 8-game road string, and they lose 3 points per game or per 100 possessions on the road than they do at home. And it's not easy going on that type of a road trip. I've been on it when I was in when I was in Memphis, where we had a 10-day, and that's not an easy trip. And it's not also easy games. I think they have the possibility of maybe winning 4, maybe 3 or 4 of those. The rest of them are top tier teams. So, go figure.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, and obviously the Clippers always battling the shadow of the Lakers, even though the Lakers are also at 500 or hovering around there too. One other thing that's kind of been floating out there in the NBA as we wait for the NBA trade deadline is the possibility of the Kings, who are just can't get it right.
Can't get right.
Yeah, can't get right, basically. But they have De'Aaron Fox and Tyler Haliburton out there, and they're thinking about splitting them up. They play the same position, both very good. Probably the best players on their team are right up there with them. They're thinking about splitting them up in lately it's been rumored a swap with Domantas Sabonis and the Pacers out there. If they do Fox for Sabonis, who would you see getting the better of that? And do you think that more than anything, that would just, to me, that'd be exciting for Fox to get out of Sacramento? Not that the Pacers are that much better at that point in time, but it's just been really tough for anybody when in Sacramento for the longest amount of time.
Yeah, ever since Chris Webber and the White Chocolate crew left, and even when Bibby, I mean, there hasn't been much there. They thought they would make a run with Big Boogie Cousins, but nothing there. I think De'Aaron Fox is a beast, and I think if you can land him, you've got something with his speed and quickness. He's probably one of the fastest guys, similar to Allen Iverson, out there, who can get the ball from one end to the other very quickly. John Moran is another guy like that, but De'Aaron Fox can get it done. I think that would be a good win if somebody can grab him.
And of course, as always, the NBA trade speculation is hovering around Ben Simmons as well. So there's some thoughts about the Kings sending a package that way. But we'll have to see as these trades progress. There was a Bryn Forbes trade yesterday, but we're not going to break that down because nobody really wins that trade. It was a 3-team trade. A lot of teams just looking to open up some space and cut those guys to get money. In any case, the trade deadline will be here, I believe, in less than a month, so that'll be pretty exciting. Another solid show. Again, if you missed any of it, head over to theticketfm.com, where we will have our podcast. We talked to Bruce Chubbuck just within the last hour. Great discussion with him. Great discussion all show long, and now it's coming up next. So lots of great stuff on the ticket. But for myself and Strick, that'll do it for tonight. Strick, great show. Everybody else out there, thank you for listening and have a good evening. Stay right here for Ticket Weeknights.